Oh, my video is gonna be late. It's gonna be like Friday.
Oh, fuck! I missed it.
I haven't even started the script yet, so
yeah. See, I started mine, but
there's too much stuff going on. Hello, chat. By the way,
I had to do this,
No.
and then tonight I have to make an Ahsoka pre-show video about all the problems it has going into it, and then I have to make an Ahsoka video after that, like the next day.
That's gonna be good. I'm actually gonna have to go through and watch a load of videos just like that one because I haven't watched the Rebels cartoon because I like to go outside and do things. And
Well, I didn't. I only watched because Ahsoka was in it. Because I'm like, hey, I know that character from Clone Wars. I'll just watch it. And then she died, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna watch this anymore. And then the last season came around, and then they used time travel, and now she's back, guys. Ahsoka's back.
Don't worry.
Clap.
I might just have to watch that actual episode because it sounds hilarious. Essentially, Dave Filoni just reaching into the screen and yanking her out because he needs her again later.
And then especially with Ahsoka coming out, there's like all of the Dave Filoni goblins are coming out and going on Twitter, because like they're like, because I've been seeing a lot more Andor is boring comments, and I'm like, all right, it's time to beat these people up and bully them. And then I tweeted something like, Andor is actually made by someone with intelligence. Ahsoka's made by someone who likes to play with his action figures.
Hey,
and
it's not out yet. Maybe it'll surprise us and it'll actually be really good and it'll be like the best of the action stuff from Mando and the best of the writing from Andor.
And the best of the cameos.
And all the cameos. And Dave Filoni will have a cameo in it. And they will say anyone wearing a cowboy hat, it's probably going to be him because he's always in these fucking shows. So maybe it'll be amazing, and it doesn't look as it won't be as girl bossy as it looks with all the purple hair and and the feminism. And
it doesn't look
the
good already. Like, have you seen the one fight scene that the released, and it's like the lighting is just non-existent. It's just like a flat piece of paper, and it looks like it was shot on what's the volume? It's just the volume.
100%. Yeah.
And then I saw someone on Twitter like 3 hours later say, all right, I fixed it. And they added actual color grading. And it's like so simple to like fix these issues, Disney. Just add color. Try it.
It'd be nice if they took that on more often. But I don't think I've even seen any of the trailers. I'm woefully underprepared for Ahsoka. It occurs to me now.
I haven't
as
either.
It comes out tomorrow.
The only thing I know is that Sabine is becoming a Jedi for some reason.
Ooh.
That's good.
So
I'm going to get these confused. Is Sabine the one that Obi-Wan was fucking, or is that a different one with a really similar
Satine.
name? Okay,
Satine
so basically the same, but with a
Kryze.
different letter.
Yes.
Fantastic.
But Satine is cooler because she's Obi-Wan's girlfriend, and that makes you automatically cooler.
Okay.
But Sabine is just some nerd.
Yeah.
With grenades.
Well, we shall see. We'll come back onto Ahsoka more later, but now we have a full house. I guess we can do actual intros. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to the best show in the universe. I think this is episode 20. We are joined by our usual assortment of lovely people. We've got Actively Andrew back with us. We have Vex back with us. We have Bagface out of the dungeon and back with us as well. So that's all good. He's eating today because I'm assuming one of the two of us just paid him. So
oh yeah, baby. I'm eating tempeh hot wings, which is it's like vegan heaven, bro. Just mushed together soybeans. I'm as soy as it gets.
You've lost me at the word vegan. Yeah. Hot wings, yes. Hot vegan wings is a contradiction in terms.
I could put hot sauce in dirt and eat that shit, bro.
Mind you, I'm in England. I don't think we really know what hot sauce is. So, yeah. Like anything
I don't think you
with...
guys know what spices are in general. So.
We have, I've heard of spices. Cumin, is that one? That's a spice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't you try and conquer the world for spices?
Yes, but then we use them as commodities, which is different. Most people eat them. We made money off them. So
you don't get high on your own supply, right? I get you.
Unless it's tea, obviously, speaking of being high on our own supply. Yeah, we have some stuff on the docket today because Blue Beetle is out and Taika Waititi is saying things again, which is always making for a good week. And Ahsoka, of course, is coming tomorrow, I believe, or in the early hours of Wednesday for us in real time.
They're actually releasing it at a reasonable time this time, and not like 3 a.m. Eastern.
It's 1 a.m. GMT, so it's not like the most universally sensible time.
That sounds like a you problem. I don't care.
Like, I don't release videos at 1 a.m. my time so I can get mid-afternoon your guys' time. I do them so it's evening my time and morning your guys' time. That just seems fair to me. But, you know, who cares, I suppose. But we'll come on to Ahsoka more later because we have the more important, pressing, universally adored Blue Beetle to talk about. I think everyone here has seen it. Has anybody here not seen Blue Beetle? No, good. Okay.
I think this is the first time ever that's happened, though. There's always someone who hasn't watched whatever we're talking about.
I guess since like the blue is in the name and you're high as fuck and it'll be funny, you can start.
Hi, everybody. I didn't like this movie. I was texting Vex while I was watching the movie because, of course, my theater was empty. So, you know, I wasn't disturbing anybody. And I was just telling her how terrible this movie was as it was unfolding. I really didn't like it. Like, I don't understand the praise for it. It seems more like forgiveness, not praise. It's just like, oh, it wasn't terrible. Like, so that's great, I guess. I just thought it was, I don't know. I remember starting my channel saying like, there's no reason to say a mid movie is amazing. And that's basically what this is. So I'm just like genuinely confused with the praise. It's as generic as it gets. It's like, it takes bits of every superhero movie you've ever seen and like kind of throws it all together. Like, oh, that scene's from Iron Man. Oh, that's a Spider-Man scene. Like that's the gist of it. And so it was essentially just sold as a representation movie. And like, I don't know. No, I don't know how many people felt represented because nobody showed up. So I guess it didn't matter. So yeah, I'm really confused with this one and the I don't know, the talk around it. What did you think about it?
Well, I was going to say because we've got two minorities on the panel, so maybe we should go. Well, I think that like, you probably technically count. So like, do you feel represented? Because it's like another minority film, and I'm told that's what it's good for.
Vex, you go first.
Oh, as you can see, I clearly was represented, hence today's name being 7-Eleven Beetle. Because for the writers of this film, clearly representation is just taking every stereotype, and that's pretty much enough for representation. So I didn't like this movie at all. And the praise literally is just because, oh, we didn't get something as shitty as The Flash or Shazam, so I guess we can say that this is okay, but I didn't like this movie whatsoever.
I don't know. I'm not Latino, so I didn't feel that represented. You know, Black Panther is more my style, but I fuck with this movie a lot, actually. So I'm the odd one out in this panel, I guess, because I had a lot of fun. I thought it was dope. Like, it was nothing original by any means, but I don't think. Like I was talking yesterday, me and Andrew have a show called Slight Tomfoolery plug, and we were talking about how it's not trying to be anything that it's not. You know, it like knew what it is. It's like a mid-level superhero movie with like a kind of small budget that was supposed to go to streaming, and that's exactly what I got. And I was happy. You know, I ordered a Big Mac. I got a Big Mac. I was like, cool. It was like maybe it was missing a pickle, you know, but that's fine.
Was it a vegan Big Mac?
They have those in your country. Don't tempt me. I'll come there.
That's so gross.
Less than an actual Big Mac. Andrew, you can go now. Far away.
It wasn't good. I think it definitely had a lot of problems. The dialogue definitely needed work. It felt like everyone was contradicting each other every other line. And then I have I don't know why I said I have. I'm very scatterbrained right now. Yeah, not good. I thought like there was like a section between the first and second act that had something going for it. I think probably the best scene in the movie was probably the one with the dad and Jaime talking about purpose in the universe and like finding who you are. I thought that was a good scene. But everything else with the family didn't feel that unique. It felt very generic. I think the the hero of the story, Jaime Reyes, is probably the best Blue Beetle out of the Blue Beetles that they could have chose for this movie. But I think it is held back by trying to be comic accurate and still having to tie in Ted Kord and stuff like that. And I think if it ditched Ted Kord, this movie would have been way better in terms of trying to make a comprehensive story. But the third act really fell off, and there's a lot of just through lines that don't really get brought up. Like Jaime has this big thing with like not killing people, but then in the third act he's just like, okay, I'm gonna kill people except for this one guy. This guy's special. It just kind of felt like Moon Knight, the ending of Moon Knight, where like Moon Knight just brutally murders like a bunch of people except for the main bad guy. He can't kill that guy. He can't. So
it's
yeah,
vitally important that you don't kill the bad guy, because if you kill the bad guy, there's no bad guy and your plot won't work. But like, otherwise, pacifism is for morons. But then again, if they didn't have Ted Kord, there wouldn't be a sequel, would there? And I'm sure we're all going to get one of those.
this movie is begging for a sequel in terms of like
Yeah.
try to be able to explain things. Like the intro title credits was a big like, what is going on? Because you see the Beetle like blow up an entire planet. And then later in the movie, it explains that it is a protector. So it's like, what are you doing? Why'd you blow up the planet? So yeah, and then it also the Beetle is a complicated being.
Yeah, maybe they're not all good. They're like infinity beetles, and it depends how you use them. You have to collect them at some point.
Where there was a yellow one. We saw like a yellow and red and green one go zoom. I don't even know.
And
that's what I'm wondering, if that's like a Green Lantern thing going on with all the different color beetles.
Yeah,
maybe
it's probably just like, ooh, look, fancy color. Because I know the Green Lanterns, it's like green is what's green, like courage, blue is hope, pink is love. I don't know.
Yellow was fear, and that was the whole. And then I think red is like anger or something like that. Yeah. They were all different emotions, though. Yeah,
orange is greed. Man, Green Lantern's kind of a stupid franchise. I really hope they don't make a movie about that.
But it has a similar problem, because one of the reasons I never got behind Green Lantern is that I didn't understand what the limitations on his powers were. And this guy has the same thing. So the Blue Beetle suit can basically, and it actually has a line of dialogue from the suit, basically, I can make anything you can imagine. Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, make me a nuke. And it doesn't. It makes him a sword, which is objectively worse than a nuke. And a nuke would have been much more useful. So
also I don't know why, like, make finger guns. Finger guns are cool. Why does nobody make finger guns? Those are just objectively cooler.
Finger guns are pretty useful. Now, I do have some nice things to say about like El Wakanda Forever as opposed to Wakanda Forever. Because I was thinking about it after Brown Stream last night and going and sort of comparing it to all the recent superhero films and just basically thinking, okay, Flash, is it better than The Flash? Yes. Is it better than Ant-Man? Yes. Is it better than Multiverse of Madness? Yep.
Yes.
Is it better than Wakanda Forever? Probably just about, yes. Is it better than Secret Invasion? Yes. Is it better than Moon Knight? Yes. Is it better than Loki? Yeah. And it goes on. And it turns out that just by comparing it with all the recent superhero films, it comes across as quite a good entry. But that's more indicative of how low the bar is. Even looking at this film is.
Even looking at DC itself, like look at all the DCEU movies. Like the only one that it doesn't beat is probably the Suicide Squad. So like if this is the best that the DCU has to offer rather than the DCEU, then like this is probably a like relatively good start, all things considered, but it's still pretty rough.
Yeah, rough is a good word for it. But then because it's so. Does anyone think anything about it besides the fact that all the reviews are saying it's brilliantly diverse and it does Latino stuff and that's what makes it new and distinct and unique, and finally it's proudly and unabashedly Latino? I was sort of looking at it and thinking, okay, but now what is there unique about the film that's not just identity? Like, what's it doing story-wise, character-wise, technology-wise, effects-wise? Like, is there anything about the film that anyone can pinpoint that is not just generic repetition of everything we've already seen?
Right. So it seems like representation was the only thing they could sell it on, because there's nothing unique about it.
I feel like the thing I enjoyed the most and that I noticed the most was just the practical use, like practicality throughout the movie. There was a ton of CGI, obviously, because it's a superhero movie, but like The suit was practical. A lot of the stunts they're using like practical rigging. No. Like it was refreshing to see someone get hit, and I felt like they got hit. It wasn't just like a CGI ragdoll that like flew through 8 buildings and then got up and was like, I'm good to go. Like that kind of happens in the third act a little bit, but you know, there's a couple times in the movie where I was like, it's kind of refreshing to see something small scale and thought out, and not just like, you can tell that it was the last decision that they could possibly make in post, and they had some CGI dude create it at like the last minute.
Yeah, the localism I think definitely helps it, because I think one of the things that makes it better than say the Flash, Multiverse, all the rest of that is there is no time travel or multiverse in it. So it is unashamedly an origin story, which is what makes it so repetitive, because it is in many cases nicking beats just overtly from Iron Man. Even entire visuals is being taken from the first Iron Man film. But at least it's not trying to pretend that it's something grander and bigger and more important than it is, I suppose. I mean, there's a lot of stupidity around the suit, but it's not like world-shattering stupidity. It's just bog standard bad writing stupidity.
I will say I did like that the love interest, she actually looked like a woman, because if we just look at DC recently in female, like the Flash, for example, like she just looked dumpy as fuck in the Flash, but this one I was like, oh, that's actually a woman. She could use a burger, but it's a woman. I did appreciate some of the Tacoma jokes, which I think the chat is a little bit lost on that. Taco is what Tacoma drivers call their Tacomas. That's not meant to be like a food joke at all. That's actually a Tacoma thing. So just to clarify that. But other than that, I would say the one positive it is I'm sorry, Bagface. I'm going to insult you when I say this. I love you, man, but I'm sorry. This movie, even for the fact that it was meant to go to streaming and it was meant to be a small budget, not a huge release, it's kind of a litmus test for how stupid your audience is and how much they're going to eat whatever you put out there. Because everything is so absolutely generic about that. Even like the story that they try to put out there, Blue Beetle doesn't know what it wants to be aside from Latino. It doesn't know if it wants to be like your standard superhero origin story. It doesn't know if it wants to be a family drama or growth thing. It doesn't know if it wants to be kind of like teenage humor, as is indicative of the Beetle fart joke that we saw. It's all over the place. So even for a small release, I would expect just a little bit more direction on what you're trying to be. That's all.
Can I defend myself since I was so viciously attacked?
Do it.
I've been thinking about this a lot, actually. And it's kind of like, you know, like watching an episode of Family Guy and comparing it to like Oppenheimer. You know, you don't do that. Things have classifications. There is certain sects of media that are not trying to be something that they aren't. And that's kind of why I think I'm easier on this movie than like I would have been, say, like a month ago. Because I was in this mode where I was like, I got to compare it to like everything that was well written. And it's like, do I though? Or should I actually just compare it to like if this came out, say, I don't know, what was Iron Man, like 15 years ago? If this shit came out right around Iron Man, it would have been like, yeah, they stole some stuff from Iron Man, but that was a pretty good superhero movie. And I think as much as we've lowered the bar recently for superhero movies and MCU projects and all that shit, we also like raised the bar unnecessarily high at a certain point. And it was like everything has to be like Winter Soldier or Infinity War level, where like those are anomalies, and they're kind of anomalies for a reason, because I think working within the bounds of the superhero genre, it's really hard to create something that's original, and that you're going to have to like either create something solely original that pushes so far from the comic book that you don't get any fans of the comic book and everyone's going to be like, oh my god, they changed so much stuff, this is such shit. Or you just stick somewhat close to the comic book and you play it safe and you're like, yeah, because every superhero in how many superheroes have superpowers from radiation? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a repetitive medium in itself in the way it tells stories.
That's
and the way
a repetitive
it
premise. That's not necessarily a repetitive story. I mean, lots of superheroes have very similar premises, but it's what you do with those premises and that is
where this movie, like, and I'm like kind of counter to Vex's point, I actually really enjoyed the fact that I think where this movie stood out was the family dynamic, because you don't see that a lot in superhero movies. And that's kind of what set it apart for me, was like, they actually felt like a family. in like whether you think that it was like well put in or like haphazardly put in, I would say it wasn't, only because the entire story and his arc revolves around his family. So I would say that from like the offset, there was probably the plan to like have his family play a pivotal role. But I thought the emotional weight and like the connection between the characters was actually well done. You know, I can't think of a superhero movie where like the other only one I can think of is Uncle Ben in Spider-Man. It's like that was a family member, I guess, but like you don't really see Tony Stark's family. They're already dead. And yeah. So I kind of enjoyed
I mean, you could go modern example, like Across the Spider-Verse. They take, you know, Rio, his mother, and she has like the best speech in the movie. And you know, Jaime's father does have a similar one, and I think it is pretty good. But I think after that point and into the second act, the family is just kind of there for the sake of having a family in the movie. They fly the big fart beetle, and then they show up. Grandma has a gun, and they don't even help Jaime escape. It's him that does it.
I don't know. See, I reckon that's one of the things I didn't necessarily mind about it. I think if they had actually saved him, then you'd get an entire like week of discourse about another girl boss superhero film where the male hero is a damsel in distress and he has to be saved by the ladies. Like that's what they went there to save him, but they didn't actually do it. My problem with that wasn't that like they saved him or didn't save him. My problem is that some weird combination of his ghost dad and a scarab spirit. That's what saved him, and that doesn't make a huge amount of sense. But
does it have to though? Does it have
ideally,
to?
Yes. Ideally, yes, it does.
Stupid movies can make sense. Like
True.
That's like my base for like a movie existing. Does your plot make sense?
So for the context for the chat, there's well, I can never remember his name. Jaime, is that his name?
Jaime.
Let's just go with Jamie.
Jaime or Jamie if you're
racist.
racist.
Both of them, right?
Jamie Sanchez or whatever he's called. So his dad dies of a heart attack because the evil woman CEO, who is evil white woman CEO, and therefore is unambiguously evil, goes to try and lure him back by her taking his family hostage, and then tries to test his powers by shooting at his family because evil. And then they don't die, but his dad then has a heart attack and dies. And then later on, there's this bit where the hero guy, is strung up and he's being like the scarab code is being downloaded from his suit and uploaded into the body of the bad guy. And so he has this flashback thing because somehow downloading code from someone kills them. So he's almost dead and he has a flashback, and it's basically the scene from Guardians 3 where Rocket is having that sort of pseudo spiritual commune with the otter. I love how superhero films are just this. And it's that scene. And it's his dad, and his dad is kind of like semi-Otter, semi-Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they have this nice little chat, and his dad says, like, no, this is where you need to be, this isn't your time yet, you know what you need to do, go touch that bug. And then he turns around, and the bug is, like, flying toward him, and then he flies toward the bug, and his dad disappears, and he says, like, I will always be with you, but it's actually the bug that does it, and then they fuse together, and then he's saved, except that the suit needs then to restart because they're not actually fused yet. Doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but that's the scene we're talking about here, which I now realize has actually probably made it harder to follow, not easier.
But then he makes a big sword.
Yeah, then the suit turns up. It's because this is one of the things that I don't know if this does happen in Iron Man, but like after he's revived and he's fused with the scarab spirit in the scarab suit, the suit isn't working for a while because the film needs there to be stakes, and as long as the suit's working, there aren't really stakes. So it just decides that for a set amount of time, the suit is rebooting, which means he has to run away rather than actually fight anyone until it decides that we're done that now. So then the suit's back, and now he can summon any weapon he can imagine, and he has a really shit imagination.
I honestly think if they, rather than doing that psychedelic shroom trip with the father in the mental realm, I think if they just took like flashbacks, like in Jaime's life with his family, and just showing us how much his family means to him, rather than just having the dad show up and tell him how much family means to him, I feel like it would have been much smoother transition, or a much smoother delivery of that idea.
Yeah,
because
just a little voice in his head saying, "Use the Force, Luke." And then it will be fine.
Honestly, just make the screen go black and have the dad say everything that the dad said in the previous scene that was the best scene in the movie. Just do the scene again. Like,
I think this is kind of an ongoing problem with the film, because I agree with you, Bagface. Like, I think the family stuff it's not something you see all that often in superhero stuff. I think for the most part, it was quite well done. It was a cliche, obviously, because it wanted to be a Latino film. And the only thing Hollywood really knows about Latino culture is family, loud mothers, and tacos. And that's kind of it.
Well,
so we had all of those.
The entire family is loud.
But it's kind of a strong thing. It's just that because it's the film's one strong thing, it really has to double down, triple down, quadruple down on it. So there's the line in the first fight that he has with Carapace, who is the Carapax, that's the one.
Cowpaste.
Who is kind of the villain, but not quite the villain for reasons we will come on to, because it's fucking hilarious. The first fight he has with Carapax, so there's this line where Carapax turns to him and says, "This love you have for your family makes you weak." And I'm thinking, God, yeah, you're doing that, aren't you? You had a good thing. You knew you had a good thing. So now we're going to have that again. His dad dies. Obviously, that's a powerful thing. I thought that was pretty well done to stress the point that family is important. The dad comes back to him in the flashback. They escape, they run, they fight. He has another fight with Carapax. Carapax seems to shoot his uncle, who is this mad conspiracist nutter. So we think he's dead. And we get another instance of this love you have, your family makes you weak thing. And then he says, no, it makes me strong. And then he goes mad and starts killing people. And it's very, very, very overdone to the point of kind of cringe. And it turns out the uncle's not even dead. So the entire third act of the film is basically a fake out death, which is not ideal.
May I?
Yes.
So, the family element I thought was really done well in the first, like the opening act, just because, okay, you see that they really want to make something of himself. We see that they're really struggling because Cord Industries is coming and taking their home. They took their business, but they've managed to stay kind of together and positive about things regardless. But then this is what I mean, where the movie doesn't know what it wants to be, because instead of kind of going down that stereotypical, oh, there's a villain that you've got to face off, it would have been far more beneficial if maybe, I don't know how the source material goes, so maybe this is diverting from that, but just to focus on, okay, how does because I don't think we really see what Jamie's how he feels much about his family, aside from like this obligation for there to be family, because he just kind of like forgets about them and focuses on Jennifer for basically the last 2/3 of the film. And even when they're fighting, it's like, oh, the family's not even there. It's just this suit and Jamie, and then the suit isn't explored. So it would have been nice if, okay, just take a seat back. This scarab has quite literally graped its way into Jamie. Maybe we explore a little bit of how Jamie is adapting to this, because it literally tore his fucking butthole and spine open to be fused with him. And then on top of that, okay, how is the family now going to interact with him now that, oh my God, their son is literally going through like a transformation in their life? How can I support him? How does he come into the role of being the new Blue Beetle? Because that's the other thing is, okay, they don't actually refer to him as any sort of superhero until like they find the Blue Beetle cave at Jennifer's abandoned estate, right? And there's like, oh, my dad used to be Blue Beetle too. So this is, I really wish that it focused more on the family, because the family just becomes plot conveniences for the last 2/3 of the film.
Yeah, I mean, they do provide the strong motive, but as you say, I think they're not especially, almost not entirely relevant for a large part of he's just a dog. They're not actually they're not like that relevant to the story that goes forward, which is a bit of a shame. The suit thing is another complication, because like the suit isn't just a mechanical thing. The suit is a consciousness, it's a being, it's a kind of spirit thing. As you say, it finds its way into his body through his asshole and then like sprouts out of his back or something. But it has its own consciousness, which is difficult for the first half of the film, because in the first half of the film, whenever he's in a fight scene, it's not him doing the fighting, it's the suit, and the suit is awesome and like all powerful. And so you kind of sit there thinking, well, I don't care, because he's obviously not going to die. And there's always this tension as to who's actually in control, which I think could be a really good plot point if they'd meant it to be a plot point. It's like struggling to come to terms with the suit, which of them is actually in control when the suit is there. But instead, it's just like, well, he goes along for the ride unless the plot requires him not to do that. Like, no, don't kill Carapax for the first and second time. He has to live. No killing. And you think, well, okay, but so how much control do you have over the thing? And then when they fuse at the end, he's kind of more in control than the suit is. And then the suit stops him from killing Carapax. And you kind of think, just, I want a consistent mechanic, even if it's like fleshed out as the result of a conflict between himself and the suit. You need to do that much better in order for the audience not just to tune out whenever he's in a fight scene that he's not actually in because he can't die.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest problem. I really wish it just focused on that. I could go without the bad guy and all that stuff. It's clear that they also want to spread this out over 3 films. So like introduce a villain later on. Just give us tidbits, right? Explore more of Jennifer's backstory too, because her dad was the old Blue Beetle. How does that all tie in now? It's just really sloppy for the sake of being just generic. It's really disappointing. Like, I don't even know who Jamie is, really. We don't get any solid character development from him aside that he wants to bone Jennifer. Like, that's really all I can pinpoint about his entire character. Even the fact that he's pre-law, okay, it doesn't come into there's no scenario where even his knowledge kind of comes handy, because when we've seen other characters like go to school for something, it's like, oh, there's little instances where their knowledge actually comes into play and you understand why that character went that route anyways, right? It's just sloppy from beginning to end. And I would have liked if the villain too were explored a little bit more, because him being a child soldier and shit would have been kind of interesting.
Oh my god, that scene.
Right? Like,
Okay,
I get the manipulation part, and I get that, okay, Susan Sarandon came in and basically bombed your village and everything, but how did you go from a child soldier to being basically like the cyborg hound dog of this billionaire tech genius or whatever? How did that happen?
So what you're saying is you wanted a 3.5-hour cut of Blue Beetle with more backstory?
What I'm saying is I wish it focused more on its characters instead of just clipping together a bunch of things that I've seen in about 20 other movies. That's what I would have liked it to do. Take a route where instead of just putting action, do character development, because there's very few comic book movies that I can think of that come to mind where you're just focusing on fleshing out your characters. That's all I really wanted.
I think it would have really benefited from being not comic accurate, because it really is trying to be that with Ted Kord. It's like throwing you in the middle of the Blue Beetle story and like overarching. And you have Ted Kord and you have his whole business, but then you also have the intro scene where Vanessa is drilling into this giant ball to find the Beetle, even though Ted Kord already had the Beetle. So why is it in the big ball now? So it's just, it really is trying to grab the comic audience which is like the Blue Beetle comic audience is like barely there. So like, just like, honestly, it sounds like a jerk move. Just forget about him. Let's just do Jaime Reyes. Just have the Beetle like fly into his apartment or his home, and then have the whole story envelop from there.
What
just
I was
ditch
thinking,
Ted Kord.
Right. Maybe you go down like because I think in one of the Spider-Man movies they did this, or maybe it was in the comic books, but maybe go down the route of, okay, maybe Jamie is like an intern or some shit and he gets exposed to the Beetle. And then from there, it's him exploring how to come to terms with these powers. And then we actually get exploration of the actual Blue Beetle, who, again, totally fine killing a bunch of people throughout the entire movie until the last 10 minutes because of this one child soldier.
Oh, I really want to come to that scene, but we'll come to that in a minute. But I think this is the example of where an Iron Man comparison is probably quite helpful, because it shows the paucity of character on the one hand and the depth of character on the other. So like they're both origin stories. They are both trying to accomplish the same thing, and in many cases they share the exact same scenes and means of doing that. It's just that while Tony Stark begins as a much more fleshed out character, but fleshed out largely by his flaws. Like, he's incredibly wealthy and successful, but he's also highly arrogant. And the whole film is about him coming to learn something about himself, which is more than his pure sort of selfishness and his satisfaction of his own needs. He starts developing something like a morality across that first film. And he has to be brought down to do it. He blows up terrorists, but it's also, he's struggling with that and also the demands of making money, but
Amen.
also the demands of being a moral actor and a superhero. So like it's a much more complicated story. Whereas you compare it to Jamie Reyes, whatever his name is. What have we done about him? Well, he is a kid. He's from a poor-ish Hispanic family, and he's the only person of their family who went to university. He really likes his family. His family is poor. He really likes them though, but they're poor. But he really likes them though, and they're quite poor. But he does really like them though, and then when they die, he's sad because he really likes them. And then at the end, he really likes them, and they're not as poor anymore. So that's it. And it's not really comparable in terms of character depth across films which are not that dissimilar otherwise in terms of like plot structure and even runtime.
That's the most fair criticism I think I've heard of this movie. Like, objectively, yeah, there's almost zero character arc throughout the whole movie. I'd say the only kind of mini character arc, I guess, is him like accepting his father's death, but it's so like tossed to the side and it's not really a point of the actual plot itself. But good points. I think in my brain.
Oh, you go. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think in my brain, like, it felt like watching a cheesy anime. And I was like, yo, I like cheesy anime. This is pretty good. It's like kind of written over the top. It's a little over dramatic, and you get a big sword at the end of a dope fight. And it's like, that's pretty, like, I don't know if there was inspiration from like anime at all, but it really felt like it a lot with especially some of like the more horror-esque stuff, because I see that a lot more in anime.
Well, what an interesting way to kick off a DCU though, because like if you think about it, they kicked off the MCU with Iron Man, and he was the central figure to the entire MCU, and Blue Beetle is obviously not going to be that. So it just seems like a rough way to start.
Well, remember, it's not the movie, it's just the character, not the movie though.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I feel like James Gunn probably saw the movie and saw, was it Sholo something? I can't remember the actor's name, but like,
I want to say Marijuana, but I think that might be wrong.
Yeah, marijuana. We'll call him
Zola
Sholo.
Yeah, we'll call him that. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know what that could possibly be in relation to today.
He's good. Like, there wasn't a part of the movie where I didn't think that
fine.
he was entertaining. He's got some chops, and I could understand why Gunn was like, yeah, okay, like given a better story and like a nice place to sit in a universe, I feel like he'd sit really well, especially with the style James Gunn writes. I feel like this kid could really like if I'm thinking like Guardians 3, where he's like kind of leaning more into the dramatic and he has those scenes where his actors can really push, but then also like can hit comedy notes. I feel like that's hard to find in actors now, and he does both in this movie pretty well. So
I agree 100%. He was a good casting choice, and he's really charming. I did enjoy seeing him on screen. It's just a shame that his talent wasn't better put to use. That's really all it is.
I think everyone was pretty much wasted. In my review that I edited today, when I got to the characters, I really didn't know what to say about them, because like Cynic hasn't said anything. What Platoon said earlier about Jaime, and how he's not really a character other than loving his family. And then it's like the only person that I think has a character is George Lopez, but that's kind of it. But it's mostly just his talent and being insanely tech savvy, but also still being broke.
Was he the mad uncle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
it was insane.
Quick question. So I am not a George Lopez fan at all, but
I watched the George Lopez comedy show when I was like a kid, but that's the only thing and he's also in Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Oh yeah, he is. Doesn't he play the uncle in that one too?
No, he plays the teacher, aka the big robot head man who says a bunch of electronic jokes.
He made me laugh like out loud a couple times in this movie, and it surprised me.
Jokes.
Yeah, and I think
his
it was
joke at the end was pretty good with the Tacoma, and he's like, "Hey kids, help me come like this." I thought that was fun.
When he passed out in the kitchen, I actually burst out laughing because
I laughed at that scene as well, because I was like, "That's exactly how I react when people take my truck." So
yeah, but
people take your truck.
Even the
yes.
Do you have a Tacoma?
That
I have
happens all the
Tacoma.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting closer to hunting down Vex.
Do Mexicans take your truck?
No, my dad really likes the fact that I have a truck because he doesn't have a truck. So he'll find reasons to take it. That's really all it is. And then it'll come back like he'll say, "Oh, I'm just going to like the bank." And then 5 hours later it will come back and it will have like a really sus scratch on it or something like that.
Riddled with bullet holes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't, even when my husband tries to drive it, I'm just like, "No, I can do it. It's okay. Don't worry. You don't know how he is. There you go."
I
It's
was
the
also
uncle.
gonna.
Oh, sorry, no, after you.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the Batman fascist line was much less
Oh yeah.
than the trailer made it seem.
Yeah, it
as
made
well.
it made more sense because he's just an absolute lunatic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and right after he's like Superman's based, or I think that's what he said. Something like
He
that.
he says Batman's a fascist, but this Ted Cord guy,
Oh yeah,
he's got a sense of humor. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Weird.
Otherwise, like the uncle annoyed me. I think not really for his own character, although that was a bit bizarre. So the uncle basically is this unbelievably tech savvy guy. He can do anything that anyone ever needs him to do at any given moment, and he's incredibly reliable for that. So at one point they need to go and break into, I was going to say Stark Tower. It's not Stark Tower. It's Cord Tower. They have to go and according to that's whatever the fuck. I don't care. It's Blue Beetle. They have to go and break him. And so immediately he can build this electromagnetic device in the back of his taco, which turns off all the cameras, because like that's all you have in the most secure locations in the world is cameras, not actual guards or anything like that. So he can do that immediately, and you think, well, kind of implausible, but fair enough. Then later on, when they go to the original Blue Beetle's house, and then they go down to his basement, he has his Beetle computer as opposed to his Bat computer, and his Beetle car instead of his Bat car, and all the rest of that shit. It's basically Batman, but Beetle themed.
Woo!
And then he automatically knows how to log into all the computers. He can hack into absolutely everything. He automatically knows how to drive the Beetle plane, whatever the fuck that's called. Like, he can do everything. And I kind of think like one or two of those instances you can kind of get around because it's either comedic effects or some other fairly mundane reason, like he's obviously a wacko tech nut. But then it goes so far that you start to think, well, A, this isn't believable, and you're only able to do this because the plot needs you to. But B, it also really acts against one of the sort of consistent underarching political messages of the film, which is this divide between the rich and the poor, and the rich are inevitably the white people, of course, and the poor are inevitably the noble savages and the Mexicans. And you look at the uncle and you think, how the hell does someone with your skills not have like one of the most impressive jobs in the entire city? Because we already know that evil white people employ Mexicans, because that's an actual plot beat later on in the film, because she keeps misnaming some random dude who isn't a character but ends up being really important. Why is he unemployed when he has that much skill, also that much access to resource? And I just kind of think that starts to undermine what the film really wants to push all the way through, which is this us and them divide. And it gets a bit kind of, it starts as silly, it starts as merely self-contradicting. And I think by the end it gets to slightly nasty political levels, but I don't know what everybody else sort of picked up on that.
You mean the whole white people are evil thing by just throwing out racist stereotype after racist stereotype in the final act? Is that what you're referring to?
That's definitely part of it, yeah.
There was the secretary or receptionist where she looked at Jaime and said, "Oh, delivery's over there."
And then even the scientist sidekick or whatever that was supposed to watch over the Blue Beetle, Susan Sarandon keeps calling him Sanchez. And I'm just thinking, like, honestly, like doesn't matter what color you are, most people in that position, if you have that kind of working relationship, they know your name like pretty proper. So it felt
so
really...
that's an important job. So it's not the kind of thing you just walk into as like hired help.
And then he gets brutally murdered, and then Jaime's just like, that's crazy, and then he moves on. Like blood smearing the door window.
I once in my life had a pretty unique black name, and I gotta say, that is not an unrealistic thing that happens. Like, I've had teachers call me the wrong name for months and months. And like 6 months, and they're like, "Oh, I finally get it." It's like it was 4 letters long, 2 vowels, pretty easy to say. And endlessly throughout my whole life, I had people just, not like only white people. I think they kind of make it out to be only white people, but I feel like it's not an uncommon thing. And also having like Susan Sarandon, I don't think that's supposed to be as much as a dig at white people as it is as like at like rich people being out of touch with their employees.
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't think it's coincidental that all the rich people who are out of touch with their employees are white people. And like that you have to, it kicks off right at the beginning. So you have, he's sitting on, I can't remember his fucking name, Jaime, whatever that. Yeah, that one. He's sitting on the roof with his sister and they're looking at the bright lights of the big city and complaining effectively about the rich v poor divide. And the line is, I think the line is, progress isn't for us. Which is like already a bit of a dicey proposition. And then it's contradicted in the immediate next scene because they're talking about what they would do if they had money. And he says, oh, like, I'll buy mansions and I'll be really rich. And it's like, yeah, but you were just complaining about gentrification. So like pay attention to your own fucking words.
Yeah, it's also...
But then, so like he starts off doing, I'll just go through that because it's a narrative that I think that goes throughout. So it kicks off with that. Then it's the white receptionist who, of course, dismisses the Mexican guy as obviously hired help and directs him to delivery. It's the constant, mispronounce or like misremembering of the name of the other Mexican employee. And then it sort of culminates, I think, in the end, because Susan Sarandon's character, is it Victoria Cord? Is that her name? I think that's her name.
Vanessa?
Yep. No, it's Victoria Cord. You got it.
Victoria Cord.
Wait, the enemy?
Because
obviously, Susan Sarandon's character.
I remembered the white people's names, obviously, because that's what I am.
I thought it was Vanessa.
And then so like she all the way through is, I think she has this narrative about like she believes the company was stolen from her. There is a sort of a sub-feminist little line about how it was supposed to go to her and it goes to a man instead, and that's evil and sexist. But like she is an unambiguously evil villain. It kind of culminates in that final scene though. So it's the thing I kept saying we'd come back to, which is the bit where Jaime goes to kill Carapax and the suit stops him. The suit says, no, don't kill him because look, I have to show you some memory flashbacks so you understand why he is a villain. Then we get all the flashback sequence to him as a child soldier, and it's evil whitey colonizers doing their imperialist things in South America, and they turned him into child soldiers, and then all the rest, blah, 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 blah. And so the basic message is, and the suit basically says, you see, he's not evil because he has context. And you think, okay, combine that with all the other stuff, it's already a bit dodgy. But then, immediately after that, what does Carapax do, having been spared? He goes and he overheats his suit to explode, and he picks up Victoria Cord. And you're thinking, okay, but she also has context, doesn't she? Like, you've just saved a villain's life because they have context. We know she has context. Either villainy is completely explicable by social conditions or it isn't. You can't have it one way for one character because he's the victim, and you can't have it the other way for the other character because though she's a victim, she's also not a victimized demographic. But it's fine for him to kill her, but not to kill him, which I think is sort of the culmination of that longer political narrative that was not always that nice.
I feel like it was supposed to be like the way I picked it up on it was like her choice to become a villain, and they were trying to make it seem like it's not his choice to become a villain. That was the only justification I could see for that. Or like she chooses to go insane after she doesn't get the company that she wanted, where he's more like forced into that lifestyle.
Turn me into this giant mechanical monster and I will do your bidding and murder people on your behalf.
Yeah, like either way, they both choose it, right? So it kind of defeats the purpose. But if I was trying to say what I think they were going for, it's more yeah. Which one, Terry? Which one?
Cynic, anything to add?
Yeah, in a minute or two, we'll see where we're at.
Also, to add on the rooftop scene, so because it's funny because I wanted to compare that scene to a better scene, so I just in my video I just used it as an excuse to talk about Arcane, and Arcane has pretty much the exact same scene of you have Vi and Powder on the rooftop, and they're talking about life in the lanes and talking about the rich people above, and talking about how there is a divide and progress isn't for the people in the lanes, and that is a theme throughout the show. And we see it post time skip in the show, and you know that divide gets even worse with the corruption with Shimmer throughout the streets, and you have Soko also there. So with the world building, that idea is able to flourish in that show. The difference here is that the world building is pretty abysmal in Blue Beetle, and there's not a lot of world building, and you can't just get away with that. You need that, like, to make that powerful, you need to have the world building, and you need to show the pressures on the lanes or the lower class. In Arcane, Arcane shows that Vi and Powder go and they rob a rich guy's laboratory, and then you see them run away from the enforcers, and then you see them even run into people from the lanes, and you have you have difficulties with the poor against the poor, and then they lose the loot. But then you see the enforcers coming down to the lanes and interrogating Vander to see like, hey, who did this? And you see the constant pressure that the higher ups are putting on the people in the lanes to oppress them, if you want to call it that. And then it culminates in Vander having a conversation with Vi, telling her, you can't do this all the time, and being a leader, you can't just do violence, because violence is going to mess up everything for everyone in the lanes. And in this, it just did feel like rich people bad, which it didn't fit the same thing, that it didn't hit all the narrative beats that it needed to make that scene worth it.
Agreed. And it's the sister kind of undoes like all she's taught. I don't understand.
She does
why...
talk down. She talks down Raimi. You know what? His name's Raymond now. She does
proving my point.
Talk down. Listen, I don't care to say his name right. I don't even know who he is.
They don't even say his name consistently one way in the movies. So how are we expected to?
Because you white, Andrew.
Hey, I don't even in my review I was editing it and I call him Jamie and Jaime like every other time I bring it up. So you're welcome for proving your point. So she does constantly talk him down while he's talking about wanting to provide for his family, and she's just like, you're Latino. And it's like, well, yeah, do something. Like, I wanted the sister character to be a good character, because when we're introduced to her, I thought she was going to be a good character, and I wanted to see what they do with her. But they didn't. Like, she was probably the most. She was probably the biggest letdown in the movie for me, other than like Jenny. But Jenny wasn't a character, and also she's morally questionable.
She's also the reason that he gets fired from that job that he gets to try and help the family, which wasn't very cool of her either. In all honesty, and they pitch it like they're thick and thin, because like when they're on that rooftop too, like the shot segues in, like, remember how mom taught us salsa out here and all this stuff, and then she was a very irritating character. Yeah, I didn't like her at all.
Yeah, the only good family member was the father. The father was dope.
I think the mother could have been one, but again, they focused on the father-son dynamic a little bit more than the whole family dynamic. Yeah. So I think the mother, like, there were instances where I was like, oh, like, she's, like, they're not trying to pitch her as, like, a strong female. They're trying to pitch her as a matriarch, but they don't fully go there. So again, she just kind of falls to the wayside and just becomes a plot convenience when it's asked for, right? So that's another instance where it would have been nice if they, because in a lot of brown culture, whether you're Mexican or my kind of brown or whatever, the matriarch is very important in those family dynamics. So
what do y'all have against the grandma?
The grandma was just kind of there. I don't know. She was really just
so
there.
Offensive.
She was there.
Picks up a gun. It's funny as
she
shit.
Does. Well, it was just like
it was random.
Watching her in the movie,
really cheesy,
I'm not surprised that she picked up the gun. It felt very generic to have the grandma go from, ooh, she's just knitting and she's completely oblivious to what's going on. And then ooga booga, she has big gun.
That
felt very generic.
I didn't mind the payoff, because like the payoff for that is that she has this unspoken of past in some revolutionary war. So like she used to be this revolutionary, and so like she can use Gatling guns and she turns into this badass. I thought that was kind of funny. And I didn't mind it. It's just that like if you actually, and I can well believe that like people of say like Mexican families or Colombian families or whatever have this matriarch of the matriarch, like the grandparents above generation, who do actually have a pretty checkered past, or like at least a really complicated, violent, dramatic one that's very rarely like brought to the forefront. I didn't mind that as an introduction. It's just that I can't help but remember that I do know some things about South American revolutionaries, and most of them were absolute bastards. And she probably did some really, really suspicious shit in the past, but it's sort of played off for laughs in the way that obviously American imperialism in South America is not. And I kind of think, yeah, it's funny. Didn't mind the joke as a payoff. It's just it's kind of it's one of those things that is telling about the assumptions that writers make. Like, this is funny and the fit subject for jokes, and arguably is actually kind of admirable. This is unquestionably evil and wrong, and definitely is the motive that primes the villain. And you actually look at it and you think, well, is there a reason that can actually justify that divide? Like, why is it that one is a joke and one is not? And it really is. I don't think it's a conscious thing on the writer's part. I think it's just an assumption that gets carried in that might deserve a bit more exploration at some stage, but not in a Blue Beetle film.
I just like to point out so she's knitting throughout the entire film, and she's just kind of there in the background. Like I don't think she even says much of anything in the first like hour and a half of the film. But then she can pick up and handle this little machine gun, but then at the very end of the movie, she can barely bend down to plant a cactus piece.
Because she really likes the violence. The violence gives her strength.
The violence
and
gets her up.
It reminds her of liquidating the kulaks as a class. It's really encouraging stuff.
Coming from the Brit, we're talking about people going to other parts of the world and conquering groups.
Yeah, but we did it properly.
With class.
And
then we revolutionized. Amen.
we weren't communists. There's a slight moral difference. But,
y'all definitely never went to South America.
We did a little bit. But there wasn't a huge amount worth having over there. We left it to the Portuguese. And then the Brazilians created their own empire, and then they imported like the majority of all the slaves to ever go to the Americas. But that's the one we don't talk about too much because. Yeah.
Oops. That was an oopsie. We'll take the L on that one, guys.
That's really all I have to say about Blue Beetle, in all honesty. I don't think there's much else to this movie.
No, I guess like the only question that remains is like, what role do we see him playing going forward? So, is the character coming back in subsequent DC things? Is this film going to be part of James Gunn's canon? Is it not going to be?
I think it would be a shame if we didn't get him back. I think there is stuff to do with his character, and I think that's the biggest letdown for this movie is it just doesn't really do a lot of character work, and it really just feels like plot point, story, ooh shiny, ooga booga fight, and then ending. And I think I'd like to see a sequel that's more fleshed out and maybe given to someone else to direct and write. But like I don't know. It probably won't get a sequel unless they just go back and they make the sequel purely for streaming, like this movie was supposed to do. Yeah, I'm interested in what they can do with the character in the future, but I think it'll be a while before he actually gets anything in the future.
I imagine they'll just kind of insert his character into sequels rather than do a fully do an actual proper sequel. In all honesty,
I'd be okay. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
I feel like it show up. It depends how the DCU does too, because if like James Gunn can pull Guardians 3 numbers for like the first 3 or 4 movies that he puts out in the DCU, then the people funding them, which I'm assuming is still Warner Brothers, is where their funding will come from. I don't know how that works, but I know they're working separately. But I feel like Warner Brothers will be like, okay, we'll loosen the grip a little bit and like let you venture out into what you want. And I could kind of see him playing like a little bit more of a significant role than Ant-Man does in Avengers movies and stuff, where like he's there, he's hanging around. They usually give him 1 or 2 things to do, and he gets a little funny joke, and then he disappears into the background, kind of thing.
I feel like he'll kind of be the Peter Parker of whatever the DC decides to do if they go that kind of big universe route. That's what he feels like so far. Like, yeah, there's a bit of Iron Man in there, but like he's young, he's got like some charm to him. He's still kind of immature and naive to the world. It all works well in that kind of Peter Parker role.
Yeah, I can see that. Yes. I think that's one of the more encouraging things about the film, I guess, is that unlike, say, Multiverse of Madness or Ant-Man, it hasn't actually destroyed its protagonist. It's left you thinking, well, they haven't really done anything with him yet, but they could. The character is the actor's likable. The character, you could do anything you want with the character because they've done so little with him. So it's not like on a necessary downward trajectory. It would be hard to make it significantly worse, I think, but there are plenty of ways they could make it much better. It's just whether they look at the financial performance and say, yeah, nah, thanks, but no. That will be interesting to see. But Cynic, any final words?
This movie made me realize why I like the superheroes I do, because this is just even though he's an original character, it's still kind of more of like a passing of the mantle type of story. And I feel like the best superheroes like Captain America or Spider-Man or Batman or Black Panther or Blade. Like all of these characters have what they do, which is being a superhero and saving people's lives, like integrated into their story and their background. And these like mantle-esque or straight up passing of the mantle characters are just incredibly boring. It's not like, oh, it's the Across the Spider-Verse problem where it's like, oh, you're a Spider-Man, well, you have to do this now. Whereas Peter Parker's story, like his guilt over his uncle's death fed into like, I need to stop this from happening, or Batman's parents' death, or Captain America being picked on during World War II and wanting to fight Nazis, and he hates bullies. Like all that's integrated into their character, and these other ones are boring. And I think a lot of people need to ask themselves is like, yeah, it's a passing of the time thing. So if it's on a streaming network, go for it. But if it's in the movie theater, is it worth your money? Absolutely not. It's not interesting. It's just it's another one that you've seen a million times. So fuck this movie.
I feel like if this was the entirety of MCU Phase 4, I'd be much less angry. You know, that's kind of how I see it. Just like, I guess the bar has gotten pretty low, but I'm inclined to compare it to the environment that it exists in, not the environment I wish it existed in, and the environment that it currently exists in, especially being a DCEU movie, because like it is a DCU character. But if we're comparing this to the DCEU, this fucking stomps like literally 90% of what they put out without even trying.
It beats everything in the Snyder era. It beats it beats Shazam and Shazam 2. The only one it doesn't beat is the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So
which Wonder Woman 1984, does it beat that at all?
100%.
Yeah, but these are also really horrible movies.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. The bar is already so low, so of course it's very likely that it will be a little bit better, right? When the bar is already so low.
It's like if there's a corpse that's lying on the floor and it twitches and you think, oh, look, it might be alive, and it's a step up, but it's not really saying much because it could still be dead and it's still very unwell, whatever happens.
Is there something we should know, Platoon? Or
what? I don't. All the people in my house are definitely dead. I made sure of it earlier. They twitch, they get another bullet. That's how it goes. I think moving on in that case, unless there's anything else anybody wants to add about Blue Beetle, Taika Waititi's opened his mouth. And so, given there's absolutely no news this week, it's on the docket. Cynic, what has he said? Because I don't really know.
I had the article, but I seem to have lost it.
I remember it. It was we talked about it on Slight Tomfoolery the other day.
Plug.
Talking about the hypothetical Thor 5. And he's like, oh, we need to make a character more powerful than Hela to make an intriguing villain, which tells me that he has no idea how that works. And then it hasn't been confirmed, but there's rumors that he is coming back for Thor 5 rather than anybody else, which is depressing.
Wasn't that literally Gore though? I just realized that as you said that, like Gore the God Butcher, the guy who kills gods, wasn't that the upgrade from Hela? The one who could kill Hela?
Yeah, it is. I think he forgot his own villain. I think that's what just happened.
For real.
It is. I mean, the Thor character has been destroyed since Infinity War or past Infinity War. Yeah. He was destroyed in Endgame. So it like to bring him back is going to take a lot of work, especially now that he has a daughter and it's also Chris Hemsworth's daughter. How do you tie that in?
We'll never see her again.
I think we have. Yeah. I think we've passed the hump of stories that could have been interesting, and now we're just left with this hollow shell that could have been something but never got his chance to be anything. Like in Avengers Endgame, we could have seen Punish Thor, where he's more brutal. You know, maybe he extends the boundaries of his own country. You know, maybe there's some politics in the movie talking about how, hey, maybe you shouldn't be extending your territory. Maybe that's a bad thing. And he just says, well, you can't make me not do it because I'm a god. And then you have You have Ragnarok, or not Ragnarok. You have Love and Thunder, which is also an interesting idea, but was still completely just jokes. And then it squashed the idea of anything being interesting afterward that because Jane Foster's dead now, but there's also Asgard, or what's Valhalla?
New Asgard.
Or no, Valhalla, the heaven for Vikings, which is weird. So I don't know. I guess in the next one you could kill Thor and then have him go to Valhalla and then have him return like Jesus. That's the only thing I can think of.
What I want to know is, of all the, and I posed this on Mr. Brown's channel yesterday as well, is why of all of the like original Avengers lineup, Thor's the only one that they want to keep bringing back.
Because he's the cheapest.
He'll keep
No, but
coming
in all
back,
honesty,
yeah.
what can they keep doing story wise with either that character or that universe? Because I haven't seen Love and Thunder. I kind of refuse to see that movie at this point.
It's a good idea.
But with the way that they've built up that part of the Marvel universe, like what is they kind of back themselves into a corner. So what is there left to do with Thor and his universe?
It's the same with all the other original characters that they've done. They backed Hulk into a corner, and now he has a son, and now he has She-Hulk to deal with. So there's making a Hulk movie would be weird to do without introducing these characters that nobody cares about. And also, Hulk as a character has passed his prime as well. After Ragnarok, he really hasn't done anything that is like Hulk-esque that people want. And then you have Captain America, who's just Joe Biden now, and then you have Iron Man's dead. You had Hawkeye, which was like probably the best of the shows, but you still really can't do anything with him.
Are you only saying that because Haley Steinfeld, though?
Yes, she's my weakness.
Okay.
So you could do a season 2 of Hawkeye, but I don't know how you'd probably have to tie that into Daredevil, which. Anyway, yeah, Black Widow's dead too. So yeah, there's nothing to do with the original characters anymore.
But I'm just like, where can they take this moving forward? Because there was also the rumor today that the next Avengers movie would be a soft reboot.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, the Secret Wars. They're talking about making it a reboot. I feel like the only reason I can feasibly see why they'd bring Taika back and why Feige would be okay with it is if Feige is like, we're going to kill Thor in Secret Wars. So bring him back, give him the start of an arc in a new movie, and then we'll finish it off with his death in the next one. And Hemsworth can be like, peace, that was good. I got to die like Tony. And yeah, like, and you'll look at it in retrospective and it'll be like, oh, he was almost not silly, then got silly again, and then he redeems himself and he like saves the universe. That's the only reason I could think that they'd try to do a Thor 5 movie before Secret Wars, because there's no other reason to.
I don't think they'll even get it in before then.
Probably not. There's not a huge amount of time, is there?
Yeah,
but,
Secret Wars
Hemsworth has a few things. Is that? Oh yeah, it is. So yeah, they'd have to do it next year. So it'd have, I mean, realistic. Mind you, it's Marvel, so they could easily rush something like that out in the space of 6 months, probably. But depends how many slaves have unionized before the actual day that they're going to release it.
It'll be so rushed that the fight scenes are just the raw storyboards.
I could see that happening, and they'd say it's a really bold, creative choice, and then everyone will be expected to applaud. Hemsworth, apparently, because we're looking it up, Hemsworth is like, he said he would be open to coming back, but basically made it very clear that he doesn't want to come back any more than once. So like the quote that I've got from him is, I feel like we'd probably have to close the book if I ever did it again. I feel like it probably warrants that. I feel like it'd probably be the finale. It's not based on anything anyone's told me or any sort of plans, but you have this birth of a hero, the journey of a hero, the death of a hero, and I don't know, am I at that stage? Who knows? You could argue that Love and Thunder amounts to the death of the hero, but he's not dead in body yet, so I guess they can always do that.
And like we were talking about this last night, me and Andrew were like, there's a very slim possibility, because I don't think Taika Waititi is a bad filmmaker by any means. He's made some complete bangers that are like emotionally gripping and very profound in their character development and the story that they're trying to tell and the way that they do that. So I think there's a non-zero chance that he like comes back and they're like, do a good one. And he's like, okay. and he actually like puts in a little effort and makes a good Thor movie, I think those chances are very slim. But it's not impossible. It's not like the dude is incapable of making good movies.
He's not, but I think like he needs somebody to do writing for him. Because if you give Taika Waititi sole writing credit and also lots of money and no strings attached, which is what they did with Thor: Love and Thunder, then you get Thor: Love and Thunder. Like Ragnarok, everyone said, well, isn't it weird how there was this huge decline from Thor Ragnarok to Thor: Love and Thunder? But it's not actually that weird because he directed Ragnarok, but he didn't write Ragnarok. That was written by somebody else. And he's very good. Yeah. He's good at putting his own comedic spin on other people's ideas. Otherwise, like, if he's having sole writing credit, it really needs to be a kind of an indie film. Did he do on his own? Did he do Hunt for the Wilder People? Because I quite like that as a film, but it's like unashamedly small, low budget. He can't do too much stupidity with it.
I feel like he wrote Jojo Rabbit for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did.
Right.
Yeah, but he's not the sole writer. You're right. He had an extra writer with him, but that's what I hope would happen is, and I'm assuming that's what will happen because Foggy is working towards something now. He's not just in limbo, waiting for new toys to play with. I assume he's going to be like, we have to have this directly lead into this, and that's kind of like they announced Doctor Strange 3, right?
Is the third one? Thing,
yeah, and that's coming out before Secret Wars as well.
There's another one.
Yeah, I'm guaranteeing that they're going to push Secret Wars back. There's no way they pull that shit off by 2025. But
is the what's his name? Matthew, the writer for
Matthew
Strange
Waldron
2. Yeah.
Oh,
is he coming back for that?
He's no.
I think he's still on Secret Wars, isn't he? Or was that was that Jeff? I think that might have been Jeff Loveness, and then he got fired.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I can't remember, but yeah, I feel like there's a better chance that it's probably written by someone else. Now that you bring it up,
probably.
Yes, because I'm assuming they're going to have consistent writers. I think they did that for Infinity War, right? Like they had like pretty consistent producer writers over top of like the things leading up to it to make sure that they all aligned. Yeah, I'm sure they all at least sat in a room together.
Russo brothers started with Winter Soldier, and then they made the next Captain America movie, and then they did
even like Ragnarok, right? Like I'm sure Feige knew where Thor had to end up because there was like they were specifically writing parts of the following movies. So I'm sure that if not, like if they don't have specific writing credit like on IMDb, there's no way that these writers aren't sitting in rooms and like actually discussing larger plot points.
You would hope.
I mean, they haven't in a while, but you'd hope that they maybe get back to it again one day.
Because the post-credit scene in Ragnarok is effectively like the pre-scene for Infinity War, isn't it? So they leave Asgard and then they fly up the ship, and that's when Thanos' ship sort of takes them over. That leads directly into Infinity War, like in terms of scenes. So there was some communication that goes on there. But like, do we believe that anyone is doing that anymore, or that they even will in the future? How do you keep track of Multiverse of Madness, for example, given that it's basically created a premise that is impossible to keep track of?
You tighten that shit up in Doctor Strange 3. You have someone not a moron. You have some I guarantee they're gonna have someone set rules that have not been followed up to this point, and then they'll be again exposition to us in the Doctor Strange 3 movie, and those will be the rules they actually stick by. Because what they're doing now is just constantly universe breaking.
If Kang, say, wiped out all but one timeline, so the multiverse is functionally dead, and then we're back to manageable stakes, one universe, it actually matters again, that might be helpful, something that would be good to do. Or if Doctor Strange does, because I haven't really kept too much in touch with the Doctor Strange 3 stuff, so I don't know exactly how much that's going to be building on the multiverse arc, but it has to build on the sun, doesn't it?
It is a direct sequel. So it like
he steps into the multiverse, and it's going to pick up when he steps in with Charlize Theron.
And am I right in thinking that one of the things that they're going to be exploring is the idea that Doctor Strange is always like this existential threat to the multiverse? I think I read that somewhere. Like his incursions are this one sort of universal constant that keep coming back and keep destroying things. So they could use Doctor Strange to destroy the multiverse. I don't mind what they do, basically, as long as they destroy the multiverse. That would be good.
Wait, where is Charlize Theron coming? I haven't seen Doctor Strange 2 either.
Post-credit, baby.
He was in the post-credit scene. She's some like love interest for him. I don't know. I also don't care. Because we also have Loki season 2 to keep track of in terms of multiverse.
I always vote that is the best that's the closest they've gotten to actually explaining how the multiverse works and having it like somewhat not make sense, but it feels like there was ground rules set almost in that show that they have not followed since. But
apparently, Doctor Strange 3 will be adapting elements of Time Runs Out. Is anybody familiar with Time Runs Out?
Nope, because I'm not a nerd.
No, because I'm not a nerd.
Amen.
You're here.
Didn't you just totally do a stream rewriting Spider-Man Lotus the other day
What?
and then rewrote it?
I did do that. That's
Now time for that shitty comic book. I'm doing Spider-Man Lotus. Thank you very much.
Oh, Jesus.
What are you looking at, Bagface?
I'm looking at the synopsis, and it's just like, really?
Time runs out.
Yeah, that's what you're going to adapt?
No, this makes sense based on like what they're adapting so far. Like they've fast forwarded to adapting like the 2012 era of Marvel Comics, and it was like spearheaded by a guy named Jonathan Hickman. It was actually a really good run. So if they are adapting anything, they're just doing it really poorly because it's actually a really good comic book. But yeah, so Time Runs Out's an Avengers story that I can see the MCU morphing into a Doctor Strange specific one, which leads into Secret Wars eventually. So this all kind of makes.
Where does Blade come in all this then?
Who?
What?
Blade is DOA.
Yeah, Blade's not going to happen, man.
No,
Blade's too cool.
He is too cool. Blade's
too cool for this
anniversary
lame ass
today.
universe.
You know, was that 25 years ago today? So people were posting scenes from it on Twitter. And like that opening scene is just forever iconic. There's no way that Disney would ever do anything close to how cool that fucking scene is.
Not even close. No, I do agree. Blade is probably dead on arrival.
Yeah, and if they don't have the balls to do it rated R, I don't even want to see what they're going to produce.
It's just going to be Venom, but not rated R, but also worse.
But worse.
Well, Mahershala Ali is like 50 now.
Yeah, I know.
When they cast him, he was like early 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was primed to play that character. Now it's
for
been
a
like
bit.
6
I
years.
feel like they only would have got him for like a decade, you know? So like how do you start it now? You're gonna do what, 10 years of movies and have a 60-year-old Blade?
You might as well have fucking Wesley Snipes do this now.
Exactly.
Jesus. What a wasted awesome character. Such a shame.
I'm kind of happy, I'm not gonna lie. The further away we get from Blade not being possible, I'm like, thank God. Thank fucking God.
Bullet dodged.
Yeah.
I feel like this is just proof you can create new like A-list characters, I guess. But their current roster, like you can't survive without a mega superhero star. Like
that's why I feel like I've had this theory for a long time. So I feel like the entirety cast of white guys played, call him Switchblade. That's good. That's a good one. Damn it. Yeah. I feel like Feige's literally, I feel like he stopped producing and he barely does anything because he's like, I'm gonna reset this all and have new toys, which is the X-Men and Fantastic Four.
He should because
dude, he is make money bro. He is a 8-year-old playing Minecraft, and he's like, "Oh, I'm bored. I'm gonna reset the world."
Yep, that's literally what he is, and it makes sense when you think about it because either the MCU has to keep going down this road where instead of like when they started, they were essentially making stars out of people, and people wanted into the MCU because like that was how you became a mega fucking star. And there was nothing else in Hollywood that was really doing that at the time. And now they've ended up in a place where like they're wasting Christian Bale and bringing in Charlize Theron for a post-credit scene. I feel like he knows that he has to either you're getting into more obscure characters where if you want people to show up, you're going to have to cast well-known actors that are going to cost a lot more money, or you just wait until after 2025 when you can recast the X-Men. You cast a bunch of kids, you sign them to like 10-year deals at a very low rate. And everybody's like, I don't care how far the MCU falls when that new X-Men movie drops, normies will even be like,
oh,
okay,
I'm
interested.
I think so too.
Yeah.
The thing is they're missing out on major potential crossovers like Avengers and X-Men. That, you know, and I mean the actual Avengers, not the fucking
I think they like passed that like 5 years ago. Like,
oh yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like you have to reset it anyway, and eventually, like you can't continue on this. Can you imagine like MCU somehow just coasts for another 30 years, and like your lead heroes are some fucking Z-lister you can't even think of right now.
It does suck. A reset does suck, just because once you introduce the idea of resetting is always there to just reset for the sake of resetting, which is what comics kind of do. So
isn't there a chance though, like he's resetting because he wants to recast those like OG Avengers roles?
I mean,
without
he could,
having everyone
he would
freak
be
out?
admitting defeat if he did that.
Yeah, but I mean, how
He's
many
also
people would be
desperate.
interested to go see a new Iron Man take? I feel like more than are interested to go see Ant-Man.
I don't. Yeah.
All they
And
think
I feel
about
like
is money.
you're more inclined to see a movie like Ant-Man if you're invested in the main characters of this massive universe. So if Iron Man's doing well, you're invested in the story. You're like, okay, I'll check out Captain Marvel, I guess.
True.
No, I
And
agree.
it-
It's just,
yeah.
it's like, but I don't know, because they have all the mechanics necessary to do a reboot. The multiverse is the perfect mechanic by which to do a reboot, because you can just bring in an alternate version of Tony Stark, for example, and then it's fine. I get the point that it might be considered an admission of defeat, but also, as against that, they are quite desperate, and they will do anything to get a profitable film. So I wouldn't be so sure that they won't take the worst possible option available to them, which is just a reboot. Because, well, it's the worst possible option available to them, and they're very good at taking those. So, like, depressing as it would be, it's not impossible. But it would be depressing for the other reason, though, which is that, are you really telling me that, like, how many decades of comics been going for, and how many decades have we not even touched, and they can't even think of a story to pull out of any of those? So, hey, let's reboot it, use the Avengers, use the multiverse, reboot, start again, because we've run out of ideas. You've had 70 years of ideas, and you own the rights to them, so fucking use them.
He really should have, like, something to do with the Infinity Gauntlet should have been their reset, in my opinion. It's like if they just ended up like, yeah, they saved everyone, but now the multiverse collapsed, and they give it like a 10-minute explanation, and then post Endgame, we just have a different cast of characters, and we slip back into like more ground level stories. I feel like that was their moment.
They blew their load by putting Thanos as your first big villain. That's really all. Like, they wrote themselves in that corner. So really, where is there to go? They should have made something like Galactus the first main villain, but I understand that was a whole rights thing because he's a Fantastic Four villain, right? So
yeah.
When
the
did they get
Secret
the rights
Wars-
to Fantastic Four? Is that 2020?
That's 2025.
26, I think.
6.
Oh,
Oh, is
okay.
it 26?
25.
I
One of
think
those
they
two.
can't recast until 2025 or something. If they do anything, they
Gotcha.
have to use the old cast.
Yeah, that applies to the X-Men too.
Yeah, and the oldest cast for the Fantastic Four is like Michael B. Jordan and what's that one dude? I can't. Miles Teller. You know, you'd have to bring back that cast, which is like,
Nope.
please don't.
That's not good.
Nope.
I forgot that movie exists. Holy shit.
It barely does.
Bro,
Holy
literally
shit.
best Fantastic Four movie.
Oh,
That movie.
I don't know.
deserves an
I-
actual breakdown. That movie's such a piece of shit.
Nah, peak.
Yeah.
did EFAP do that movie?
I don't know.
I haven't watched a lot of EFAP, but I feel like I would
Which
definitely
one?
watch them break down.
Van
Yeah.
Forstick.
I
Van
don't
Four stick.
think so. I could be wrong. I don't think.
I'll
there's one
search
of
it.
That's a gold mine. None of you have hit that yet. That
Yo.
shit is. That was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
was really
is-
I
bad.
don't have time to do that because there's so much coming out now. I can't go back to look for bad films when there's never more than a week until the next one comes out.
hmm
Can I ask a question?
No.
When was the last time you guys enjoyed a not good movie? Like when you watched a movie and you're like, that wasn't good,
watch-
but that was enjoyable.
I watch horror movies every week, so every
Yeah.
week that happens.
That's fair.
The Dark Knight
Um,
Rises, kind of enjoyed that.
Oh,
Pretty shit
Right.
film though.
You
I-
enjoyed that? You sick
Yeah.
fuck.
You sick bastard.
Your
I
opinions no longer matter. Please
I
stop.
rewatched Batman and Robin, and I actually really enjoyed that for how bad it was.
That's
I had a
peak.
lot of
All
fun
right.
with it.
I
my
can take that.
friends showed me that like a year ago, and I think I was so tired after watching it, I just left. Like we planned a whole day out, and I was like, I'm sorry, I cannot. That movie took so much energy away from me.
I
That's the
watch
one with Arnold,
WWE
right?
all the time.
Is that the one with Arnold?
It
Wait,
is the one with
oh,
Arnold
yeah.
and Uma Thurman.
Ooh, so good.
Yeah.
The Ice Age.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
Oh, who the fuck let that happen? What the hell? Oh my
What are you
It's
talking
god.
wonderful. It's a good
He's
time.
so quotable. Listen, according to Arnold, this is the best script that he's ever read. He
Yeah.
said that.
He can
He
read.
said that.
He can
Get
read.
read.
It's the best script my manager ever said they read.
He was
I think he was
elected
paid
to
like
lead,
20
not
Have
to
you
read.
seen interviews with him for the Batman and Robin? It's like he's so passionate about the character.
I mean-
It makes me like his character more because he's like, oh, I love this character so much.
I feel
I
like
think he
if you go to Robin before you shoot that movie, that whoever the dude is playing Robin, and you're like,
Mhm.
hey, this is a comedy. I feel like that movie could actually be bad good. But there's just a few points in that movie of like contention to the tone of it just being so campy that it's enjoyable that I'm like, oh, dude, what are you
Mhm.
doing? You trying, man? You see Arnold over there? He's just chilling.
Trying.
He's literally chilling. Like, yeah.
You see Clooney? Clooney's not trying.
Clooney doesn't
Clooney
give a
was not
fuck.
trying.
No.
Didn't Arnie get like $1
Clooney was
million
looking at
a
his.
day for that film, though. So it's
Yeah.
easy to chill on $1 million a day. I would do that if someone paid me that much money. So I'm just going to turn up and eat.
I think the movies that I enjoyed but are absolutely terrible are the Transformers movies. I love those movies so much. They are
terrible.
so
Yo,
bad.
Post
But
Shia
it's
LaBeouf,
like-
you like?
Hmm?
Post Shia LaBeouf, you still like them?
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
with Mark
well,
Wahlberg.
It's just yelling, just chaos, just big robots. It's so American.
I feel like
It's
Pacific
it's
Rim
shit
hits that
is what
better.
it is. In Pacific
Woo!
Rim, I can kind of enjoy, though it's not like,
Yeah, Pacific
brilliant, but it's enjoyable enough. The second, there's a hard line, which is nevertheless hard to define between Pacific Rim and Pacific Rim 2, though, because I did actually watch Pacific Rim again a few days ago. I think it was on TV. Pacific Rim 2, if that comes on, I'm turning off because there's something about that film I just can't stand. Don't know what it is, but it's that ineffable sort of shit level which you can't really transcend. So The Dark Knight Rises is shit, but it's on the right side of the line. I disagree. Transformers is firmly on the wrong side of the shit line. Cannot enjoy any
How
of those
dare
films.
you?
Only with
Bro,
Shia was it good. Yeah.
How can you not like the Bumblebee helping counter terrorism in?
Because I grew up watching Gundam, so I know what good mech stories are. And Transformers isn't it.
You don't like Optimus Prime yelling, "Give me your face," and then ripping off someone's face like
Or
a
like,
hero
I'm
does.
coming.
I'm coming. I'm going to kill you. Come here.
You know, you're saying all this, it makes me want to watch that newest one again.
I
That
still
shit
haven't
was
seen it.
bad.
I feel like that one is just like it's bad, but it's not Michael Bay bad. So it's not entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't
Am I
think I
true in
watched
saying
past
that?
the first two, in all honesty.
I mean,
That's
you're
all you
right,
need.
Dark of the
anything.
Moon is peak Bayism.
I don't even know which one that is.
It's the one where
It's
They're
the one
all
with the big
same.
robots in it.
it's the one with the big robots and Optimus Prime says, "I'm coming."
He says that in all of the movies. It's
Yeah,
his
that's right.
like
His
it's
tagline.
sexual innuendo. I'm coming.
Oh yeah, he kills a defenseless man. He like the one of the robots is begging for their lives, and then Optimus just shoots him in the head with a shotgun. And then he rips Megatron's face, head,
yeah.
and spine out. God, I love Optimus. He's such a good role model.
Is Battleship the one that Rihanna is in?
Yes.
Aaron
And
Eckhart's in Battleship,
she has
right?
7 lines, 3 of which are and that's it.
I was gonna say to Andrew, I don't know. You're this is before your time.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Young
But
blood.
have you seen Bad Boys 2? Because I feel like that's peak Bayism.
Yeah,
if I've
that
ever
is
seen
Peak
it.
Bay. Bad
I
Boys
would
That
2
movie is as Bay
specifically.
as
Yeah.
gets.
Yep.
If
That's
it's
a guilty
before my
pleasure
time,
right
it's
there.
irrelevant.
Yeah, that's a movie that's good bad. I watch
Yeah.
Bad Boys 2 any day.
I completely agree with that. Damn.
Yesterday is before Andrew's time. Die, Jay Goodwin.
Was birthed with that mustache.
Yes. One day I'm gonna. I want to shave it because it's getting annoying, and I just need the feeling of a baby face. But once I do that, people like I'm just gonna look 5 years old.
Where's your Cosby shirt?
Oh, it's right here. I wore it today.
Oh.
What was that? What? Bro.
Oh shit. Never go full Cosby, bro. Never go full Cosby.
Do you only
Well,
wear
if I
that
do-
shirt
if
you're
I do
wearing
that-
specific? If you're doing specific things that day, is that when you wear the shirt?
Yeah, I wore it because I recorded my Ahsoka video today.
Ah, I see. And did something else as well, but we're not going to touch that on stream.
Yeah,
you have a
unlike
YouTube
Cosby.
uniform.
Hey, listen, chicks dig a guy in a uniform. What can I say?
Where is the so like, why is it though that we can watch certain films like those mentioned and think this is so shit, but it's enjoyable, whereas say a lot of the recent MCU stuff is not in the same way? Like, so to be fair, sometimes like watching Ant-Man, I would watch Ant-Man and think, oh my god, I can't believe they've done that. That's hilarious, and it's kind of enjoyable in that way, but it's not the same as an enjoyable shit film somehow.
I could. There's Pooh, Blood and Honey that came out this year. That was a modern take, and that was absolutely terrible. Did you watch that movie? Thing you told me you're going to watch it. Did you ever get around to watching that?
Yeah. We should put a poll in the chat. Should I make that a
Bro.
main channel review? Because I really want to watch that.
You should
I
do
feel
it.
like we need
fully
to really
ironic.
stress when we're reading the title of that film that there is a colon between poo and blood. Because if it's poo, comma
Pooh,
blood,
Only the
comma
blood
honey, it's
and
a
honey.
weird mix.
That is like that movie. I was talking to my friends about it, and they said that movie was so bad it turned them into me, because they were like, "All right, I'm gonna make this better," and I was like, "Yes." Now they're rewriting it.
To answer that question, though, I think it's just what is the movie trying to do more than anything. So, like with something like Blue Beetle, it's like you look at it and think it's bad because it's trying to do all of these specific things, like more so on like the social and cultural way with the whole race insertion. But then you take something like Batman and Robin. I mean, yeah, Schumacher said it was supposed to be like not campy, but come on, that's a fucking lie. But you see all these like terrible fun elements that end up just kind of like working together, and you could just turn your brain off and just have fun with it, right? So I think it's just what is the film trying to do that ends up making it go from, oh, this I'm gonna critique this film, or oh, this is bad but I'm still having fun.
I'm gonna
There's
I don't know,
another cat.
yeah, man, I got two right now. It's
Oh,
dope.
that's right. You told me that last
Timmy,
night.
yeah.
Completely forgot.
Timmy. I'm not going to deep dive into the psychology of humans and stuff, but I feel like once you take the position of a movie critic and you're going into a movie with a critical eye, there's a certain level of like non-enjoyment you can find in things that you would enjoy just choosing to go to a movie because it's a Friday and you're like, I'm bored, what came out? And you go see a movie and you're like, ha, that was cool. And then you continue on with your day. I feel like the fact that like we all have to think about these things in detail and then come up with like points and arguments about it and analyze it in ways that most people don't probably leads to like I'm sure if Bad Boys 2 came out,
Bad Boys 3.
now Bad Boys 3, I think that already exists too, but
I think
Bad
we're on
Boys
Bad
5.
Boys 4 now, actually.
yeah,
6.
they're working on 4. Or like, I don't know, there's just like, I feel like if you were to actually sit down and critique that movie, most of us would probably not find that movie good in the terms that we look at most movies that we have to watch now. But it's also the feeling of having to go watch everything. That's kind of why I stopped reviewing as many movies, because like eventually I was like, I don't want to fucking go to a movie. Like, goddamn, you gotta go sit in the theater, you got your little notepad and shit. I always eat too much popcorn and then I feel like ass. And it kind of changes the experience of it. It becomes like work versus something you do to enjoy, and I feel like that kind of changes perspective on a lot of things once something becomes work and not enjoyment.
I think Barbie fits in the camp of being enjoyable just out of pure irony, because like that movie is just so stupid, and I went and watched it with friends, and friends and family, and we just made fun of it while we were watching it. So I think there is a level of art to watching a movie and also making fun of it, which is where we find the enjoyment in most bad things. Like watching Batman and Robin, I watched it with friends, which made it more fun. So I guess in terms of the enjoyableness of a movie, it all comes down to how you watch it. because like if I watch Barbie with friends, it's just going to be funny, and we're just going to talk about Ken and quote Ken throughout the movie. But if I watch it by myself, I'm going to die.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the same thing as like everyone realizing that No Way Home wasn't as good as they thought it was when they saw it in theaters. It's like when you see it in theaters, and like we were talking about this
with
yesterday,
friends.
like you're screaming till you have no fucking voice when Andrew Garfield pops up. Like it makes it so much more of it changes the experience. Not to hop on XQC's dick, you know, and kind of agree with them a little bit, but like watching things with an audience does change the experience of watching something alone.
Yes, but in my experience, almost always negatively because people suck.
Well, unlike you, we have friends because we're cooler.
And you got to come watch a movie in America, okay?
That sounds
they know how to watch
worse.
movies down here.
In this country, if people clap, they get booed.
You know
Yeah,
what?
And like, if you're
Some
rustling your
bullshit.
popcorn, people
I'm
toss
going
at you.
I'm going to
Like-
Britain for one day just to go to your theater while you're watching a movie,
It's
and
not a
I
dumb
will
thing, like,
just be yelling.
There are adverts at the beginning of films saying "Don't rustle your sweets too loudly."
What?
Wow.
I would
yeah.
no, okay. That's something I wish that was.
There's a guy in View Cinemas that the screen goes black and this guy starts shouting at you. It's like, put your phone away, don't talk. No one wants to hear you talk. Like, don't rustle sweets too loudly, and just like all these things that you're not supposed to do.
That sounds,
which is
that
fine.
sounds like
I
like
like it.
1984 type beat there.
In America, you
Don't
literally have
rustle your
some dude,
sweets
like,
too loudly.
It's
went to a
good
movie
though,
in,
because everyone like here hates it when people do that. You're supposed to sit there and you're supposed to watch the film. You're not supposed to sit there and start just cheering like stupid animals.
What?
What is wrong with you? This is why your culture can't make any progress anymore, and we're number one.
I went to a movie
This
in
is
North
why.
Carolina once.
How
and,
is American culture
oh?
going at the moment, by the way?
And
I don't know.
they,
You're taking cues from us.
We don't take cues from Americans. That's what Canada did, and look where we are.
Yeah, this is your mistakes.
Hold on, we
They-
took a
they
lot
like,
of cues from The Crown, though. Not so much America.
Culturally,
Canada-
American.
Canada's-
Y'all
Canada's a
got
great-
the queen on your dollar bills for some reason.
Yeah, there's
Where
Yeah,
are
we're
you
still a
not
colony.
cheering in the theaters. Kind of is like
Imagine
it's
still being a
it's
colony.
a microcosm
Couldn't
of
relate.
you losing to us.
It was the
Like
shocking
different
thing about
cultures.
Barbie. Barbie finishes, and then like a small but very loud subsection of the teenage girl audience starts shrieking, and it was really shocking because it's not the darn thing. You're not supposed to do that. That's wrong. You're supposed to get up and leave quietly and mutter to your friends as you leave. That was all right, and that's it. That's like the extent of the reaction you are supposed to have to films in the cinema.
Sounds like 1984. I would not like to participate.
I mean, they used to do that at the Canadian theaters up until a few years ago. They put advertisements at the very beginning to like not have your phone on and not to talk. And
We do that,
Yep.
but not not the rustling your sweets.
yeah, that's over.
Because like Americans just be wom, wom, wom.
Yeah,
Americans
sounds
be
like-
fighting in
yeah.
theaters. In
I
all
was
honesty.
gonna
Can
say,
you,
like-
can you actually hear the dialogue over the sound of people eating in American cinemas?
They eat full meals, bro. Like
That's why you
yeah,
just see
one-
movies in IMAX because the
You-
sound is
you guys
just
got, like,
amazing.
cocktails, and
yeah, you
people
can
bring
see
you
someone
like you can
snap
order
their
like a
fingers
steak.
and a whole like 5-course meal just shows up in front of you.
Yeah.
In my local cinema, if you buy 2 pints, they say you're not allowed anymore. You know.
You guys are boring.
I know it's
Well,
that,
we have the
that,
freedom
that
to
to be
buy
fair,
more.
that bit is shit. I would happily do away with that rule, but otherwise you have to bring your own hip flask in. But that's cheaper anyway, so it's fine. But
think
no,
the-
it's a very different cinema going experience. We go to appreciate the art on display, and you guys go for a meal, and that's different.
I
I
actually
think
don't
that
eat during it.
people in America go to the theater for the experience of seeing a movie with other people, though. And like, it seems like in the UK that it's an inconvenience that other people are there. Like, if everyone
Yes.
could just have their own private screening, that's
No,
what you
because
prefer.
it's like you know, if you go to church, for example, and which I don't because I'm not religious. I don't know why I'm bringing this example up, but let's use it anyway
Okay.
because I've started. Like you go to church and you sit in the pews together and you're all communing, but you're doing it silently and you're listening to the person at the front who has things to tell you about God. You don't all
You've-
start
okay.
whooping and clapping and playing guitars,
You
unless,
have
funnily enough, it's an
obviously-
American Baptist church,
Let's-
which gets
let's go to
everyone
I was gonna
fucking
say
does.
you've never gone to a black church. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
And yo,
nobody sits in a black church. It's
And-
just standing.
versus white church, I've been to both, and like, I would go to a black church just to hang out every Sunday. That shit
Oh,
was
yeah.
fun as hell. But like
That's
going to
chill.
white church, you're like you want me to
White
eat the
white
body
ch-
of who?
Yes,
White
you're
church-
supposed-
white
look,
church
you
is
go to
British
church to be
theater.
told that you're living in sin, not to have a good time. Anyway, somehow we've
believe
got away
I-
from
I'm-
films.
I can't believe I'm agreeing with like American values right now. This is
Bro,
fucked
we're
up.
shit.
Ew,
What are
we
you
don't
talking
want
about?
Canadians agreeing with us. You're gross. Stay in the attic.
Platoon is no. I would literally pay for your plane ticket, and I will pay you $5,000 if you just fly to America and go to a sermon in a black church. And
So
I will turn that
basically
into the
he's-
most viral video
Yeah.
that's ever
No.
existed.
Can we?
I will fly to America if someone pays for my ticket and gives me $5,000. Yeah, if you want to just put that in a contract and send it, I'll sign it, and then it's binding.
Title of the video: British person enjoys culture for once.
We created culture. What are you talking about?
All right.
But yes, no
What were we
cheering
talking
for
about?
Marvel films. Though. Thor 5. That's how we got to this point.
Oh yeah.
Is anyone
that's
going to be
crazy.
cheering and clapping when they
Oh,
come out of Thor 5? Do you think?
I will
I
be
brought
cheering
this
for
up yesterday. I just got to
much
say,
money
just
I'll
to
make.
ruin some days in chat. I don't know if any of you watch anime at all, but Taika Waititi is also directing Akira, a live action Akira.
No.
Oh, God, really?
I know, I know, fuck, the worst. So I hope that ruined your day. That's all I got to say.
I don't watch anime because I'm not a nerd.
Again,
you like
Spider-Man Lotus.
Arcane.
Yes,
That is true. I do like arcade. Oh no.
Arcane is basically anime. That's like
It
white
is.
people anime.
It is white
That's-
people
yeah.
anime. It's also League of Legends, which is the most nerd thing, but I don't play it.
What is not white person anime?
Oh,
Dragon Ball Z. I
Yeah.
don't know.
That,
Jujutsu Kaisen.
if I'm thinking white people anime, I'm thinking Dragon Ball Z. funnily
Really?
enough. Yes.
That's
It's
actually
such a
like-
white person. It's such a white person anime.
Really?
One Piece,
Yeah.
you could say One Piece isn't
Really?
white people anime.
Actually, most of the people in my school that watched Dragon Ball weren't white. No, I
Yeah.
don't think a single white person watched.
To be
Dragon Ball
fair,
in my
there was
school.
only one black person in my school, so maybe that's why I'm thinking the way I do. But
You know, you did.
They probably secretly watched anime.
probably.
Fruits Basket or some romance crap like that is white people anime. I
Mm.
would say.
White
Yeah.
people anime is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that too.
No.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's white people anime. Mexicans love Dragon Ball. Yo, we were talking about this yesterday. Black dudes
Yeah.
love Goku. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's like a flaw in my genes that I have to love Goku, but I do.
Do
And
you
I've-
love
there's-
Naruto as well?
I mean, later in the run, I don't love young Naruto, but you know, once you get past
But
a
I'm just
certain point-
saying, like, do you just kind of lose your
Yeah.
shit when you see Naruto
yeah,
as well?
basically any like shonen, you know,
Yeah.
black dudes are just like, oh, that's my struggle right there, bro. Like, yep.
Literally me. Naruto is the black people's Ken.
Is that you with Vi? Is that you're like, that's my struggle. I'm Caitlyn in this situation.
What? No, I'm just like, oh my god, it's Haley Steinfeld.
Fair.
In response to that comment, I'm reliably told that my movie commentary is racist. So really, you're
Hey,
here for the same
speaking of
thing.
movie commentary that's racist, have any of you seen the Blue Beetle review that Rachel
Grace
Who did I-
Randolph.
Grace Randolph? I almost said Rachel Zegler. Grace Randolph's review of Blue Beetle.
No.
No.
Did she think that this one was for furries as well?
It was probably the most unintentionally racist thing I've ever heard for the like 10 minutes.
Vex is gonna do a whole video on this once you hear this.
Can we-
Oh
yeah,
man,
you-
we covered it on Circle of Jerks. I was on with
Didn't she
Phoenix and
say
Snacks.
this was well made for like a Latino director, essentially?
Yeah, she was like, she said even though the director is Puerto Rican, it did seem to be professional, and it was like, whoa,
Ooh.
it was able to keep the culture while still being able to be professional, and I'm like, whoa, Grace, what does that mean?
She's not real, dude. It's gonna come out that her entire existence is a social experiment. I swear to God.
When we get onto doing like react videos, we're gonna have to do some Grace Randolph stuff. 'cause
Every
Oh
review
my
she does.
god.
it's
Dude,
comedy
millions-
gold.
Dude,
Vex,
Beast
please,
chat will
please.
be through the roof if you just cover every Grace Randolph review.
She's definitely. I've never heard a person sound more like AI before ever. I just stumbled across her page
Yeah,
and I
her,
was like,
her
oh, she's
inflection is
got
so
good-
whack.
so
How
weird.
did she get popular?
Reviewing, she can get the movies early, and then she just like pumped out a bunch of reviews back when
Did
reviews
she like
weren't
grandfathered
really,
in? Like when did she
Ye-
start?
like,
in
when
the before
did
times.
when did like Jeremy Johns start?
Wait, Didn't
Oh,
she
God.
work for Marvel? I think she worked for Marvel. I think that was her thing.
Because I know that I think she rose while Jeremy Johns was up, and along with all those like movie Bob. That's a lot of money for a black.
She was a comic book writer. That's how she got.
What? What did she write?
Yeah.
Yo, I'm buying it right now.
I gotta look this
All
up
right,
right
so
now.
from
Grace
2008 to
Randolph.
2009, she wrote manga adaptations of Warcraft and Starcraft. Then in 2009, she wrote Justice League Unlimited number 41. She also
Buying
did
only
some
that
stuff.
issue.
She did some stuff for Marvel Comics as well. And then just like a bunch of indie comics. She also has written for Marvel Comics Heroes or Heroes.
Ooh,
And
Heroes.
X-Men Nation
Heroes.
X.
I think Heroes.
And then she started a YouTube channel in 2008.
That's pretty
Damn,
long
That's
too.
that's
15
like
years
peak
ago.
time.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Honestly, she's not doing too well for being around for 15 years. I gotta say.
She has.
Andrew, does
not
that mean
hit a
that she
million
was
yet.
doing YouTube since before you were alive?
No, I was born in 2002. All right. Not
She
Let's
was
calm
also
down
one of the
here.
people that was strongly advocating for the MCU to fire James Gunn.
Oh yeah, because they got into a Twitter spat, didn't they? I think that he responded
Yeah.
to something like she was making stuff up because it's Grace Randolph and that's all she does. And then James Gunn replied, I think. So
Nope.
like somehow she's built this career out of being utterly tragic, but it's great fodder for everybody else.
Mhm.
Yep.
So yeah,
Beef
we can
jerky.
bookmark that for another one. If we do start doing like React content, then well, obviously we'll just be leaving the room. But on the odd occasion we're not leaving the room, we will
I
be
got my chair. all
responding
Yeah.
to Grace Randolph.
The more expensive the chair is, the more your views go up when you leave. That's the
You got to get a
saying.
Secret Labs chair, dude. That's the streamer chair.
Mhm.
Yep.
I got it in my Amazon cart right
Shit
now.
cost me
Bro.
$1,000, and I had to
Everyone
leave it
buy
on
up.
the other side of the country. Broke my goddamn heart, dude. You ever sat in one? It's
No.
You ever
beautiful.
sat in one of those
It's
thrones?
Beautiful. I paid like the price of a small car for a chair. Now my mom
Was it
uses
comfy though? Was it really
was
good?
So good, dude. So good. I can't even explain to you how good those chairs are. There's a reason.
I need to
you see
replace
most
this
people-
gaming chair.
What?
That's why.
Really? Grace was upset that so many brown people died in the Suicide Squad. That's crazy.
That just sounds like what a
such
white
a-
person says when they're really, really, really racist on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
and like usually to their closest friends, and they're like, "Oh God, I can't let anybody know."
There wasn't enough brown people dying in the Suicide Squad. Is what I meant to say.
Watch me
need
troll
more.
these idiots.
Well, speaking of things that Grace Randolph likes, shall we move to Ahsoka? Because I'm sure she'll
Oh
like
my
that. It's gonna be terrible, so she'll really enjoy it. That has
I'm
been
just gonna
moved
chill
forward.
for this one because I don't
You
care
can
about
chime in
Ahsoka.
because it's all about women, and we know how much you like them.
Listen, this is
No.
why you're on. To talk about Ahsoka.
It has
I
been
don't
moved forward
care.
officially. The original release date was on Wednesday, and now it has been moved to Tuesday. I don't actually know why. Do we know the reason why?
I don't know. They're just like, hey, here, you get it early. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's just to surprise people. That's maybe I don't know what for viewership numbers does it affect that at all?
Yeah. I guarantee that they have some internal like the same shit. You know, everybody releases YouTube videos on certain days because your audience is in the right spot, in the right place. That's probably why they moved the time of it up to, what is it, 6 p.m. Eastern now?
Mhm.
Is that what it is?
Tuesday.
Yeah, which is early. That's very early. And I'm assuming that they're hoping that this will be like a significant bump in their like initial viewership, at least, because that's probably the time when most people are home. Tuesdays, like you've caught
Well,
up on your
it's-
week's worth of things and
It's
cleaning.
just
and
better
all that shit.
than releasing anything at 3 a.m. like they usually do for some reason.
Yeah.
Wasn't the big thing with like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon was that it released at like a reasonable time and people could watch it? And it was like an event to watch it.
Yeah, because they were putting it on
at late night.
TV, you know, like it was
Oh,
TV.
yeah, that's that
TV
too.
schedule still. Yeah.
Was that the same with House of the Dragon? I thought that was specifically only streaming.
No, because HBO is
Oh.
still on a lot of
Oh, that's true.
cable plans and stuff.
Ahsoka, aka Rebels season 5. Yeah, I'm
So
not
for
gonna.
those of us who like have lives, what
Yes.
is Rebels,
Rebels?
season 5? Like, where are we picking up from?
Man, it's been a while since I've watched the last episode, but essentially, Ezra and Thrawn were fighting in a big ship, and then these hyperspace whales came and took the ship, and now they're lost in space.
Nope, it's not my internet. It is. Okay, good. Sorry, no, we lost you at hyperspace
Oh no, am I
whales.
lagging? Oh.
It's a really good ending.
Okay, so the hyperspace whales take the hyperspace whales take Ezra and Thrawn on the ship, and they disappear.
That sounds appalling. What?
I'm not lying. I'm not lying. This is what happens in the show.
She gets pulled out of a timeline by whales.
Oh no! Okay, no. That's Ezra. That's Ezra and Thrawn. Ezra and Thrawn are taken by the hyperspace.
They get pulled out of a timeline by whales.
No, they just go into outer space in Mystery Land, and now they want to go find Ezra and Thrawn. Except Thrawn already knows where he is, and he's like somewhere building the heir to the Empire. Oh my god! It's like the cover of the books. Oh my god! And then and Ahsoka. Honestly, I don't think Ahsoka really matters at all anymore. She is just there.
She has her own show.
If the show was titled Sabine, it would make more sense because Sabine has more attachment to Ezra than Ahsoka does. But Ahsoka really doesn't have any purpose in Star Wars anymore, and Dave Filoni is desperately trying to make up reasons for her to exist.
Is Ezra going to be in the Ahsoka show?
Yes.
Oh, he is.
Yes, Ezra Miller. Or Ezra. Sorry.
So shit.
Every time you guys say Ezra, I have like a mini seizure.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, number one, because of Ezra Miller, and also I hate Ezra as a character. I just don't like him. He's probably one of the most annoying Jedi Padawans ever. He's more annoying than Anakin in Phantom Menace.
And I believe Anakin is in this, isn't he? There's going to be, I think, Hayden Christensen's.
Yes, there's going to be more flashbacks, even though, there's no use for him to be in the show just because Ahsoka's moved. Ahsoka should narratively be past her PTSD with Anakin because Anakin's dead at this point. And also, her and Darth Vader fought in a Sith temple. And then it was alluded to that it was assumed that Ahsoka died in that, which makes more sense. But now that she's just been alive, that it's just like, okay. And yeah, it's her purpose after that point in the show means nothing. Like Dave Filoni really wants her to be like her standalone character, but the thing that really makes her special is her attachment to Anakin and being the Padawan of Anakin. And they could have done something with that in Boba Fett when her and Luke were on the same screen, and I cannot tell you a single thing they said to each other.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because it's Ahsoka. That's the shocking thing about that. Because it confused me when you said in Boba Fett, because it's not.
Yeah,
it's Boba Fett, but it's not the Boba Fett episode. It's the bit where it becomes Mando season 2.5.
Yeah.
And because I think I was only after that I went around and sort of tried to find out some stuff about Ahsoka, and then realized, hang on, this is a guy who's been defined by the death of his father, speaking to the only person alive who can tell him anything about what his father was really like before he turned evil. And they don't say anything to each other. Like, of all the things they could be talking about, that doesn't come up. But then that was always going to be the problem with bringing Ahsoka back, is that you've got a character from the before times who is now in the after times, and we're going to have to try and find some way of explaining why she wasn't present during the entirety of the OT, for example, or indeed much after that, and what she'd been doing during that time. And can you fill in the gaps in that knowledge, please, Filoni? Apparently not is the answer to that.
No.
But...
So, like, she really is a prequel era character that has no purpose other than just being a prequel era character. Because I mean, I like her overall arc in the show. She starts as just this miserable Padawan that thinks she can do anything, and she's very arrogant. And then she learns through the show, hey, maybe I should not be that. And she turns into a relatively fleshed out character. And then Siege of Mandalore was fun for her character. Although Dave Filoni did do some damage to her, since Maul told her Sidious's entire plan about taking over the Republic, and then also killing off all of the Jedi. And then she had the opportunity to tell the Jedi Council that, and then she didn't. So that is that was
I'm sorry, what?
so there's a scene in the Siege of Mandalore. Maul has come back to Mandalore because he's trying to bait Obi-Wan because he's very gay for Obi-Wan. He loves Obi-Wan so much. And then Darth Maul gets her in a room and he says, "Listen, my old master, he's a loser. I want to take him on. All right, join me, and then we can rule the galaxy. Because Ooga Booga the Sith, just join me." And Ahsoka at that point, she does not like the Jedi because they kicked her out in the end of season 5 because she was framed for something and she never trusted the Jedi after that. And so she like almost joins, and then Maul brings up the fact that Anakin has been groomed since he met Palpatine to become the next Sith apprentice. And then she says, nah, that can't be possible. And then Maul pretty much says, yeah, it is. And then later in the show, Ahsoka has a talk with Obi-Wan. Or no, that's before that. When is this? And then no, after that, yes, it's Captain Rex and her, and they're in a room, and she's invited in to be in a council meeting with the Jedi Masters. And then she has the opportunity to say something, and then she just doesn't.
Well, that's mighty convenient.
And it's like, I don't know if it would change anything, considering that the Siege of Mandalore takes place during Revenge of the Sith, but it is still crazy that she didn't say anything.
Well, yeah, because you could, if the Jedi at any point found out, even during Revenge of the Sith, what was happening, then nothing that happens in Revenge of the Sith can happen, because it's like, it was always a slightly weird that they didn't know anyway, because Palpatine's plan in the OT, in the prequel trilogy even, is a bit kind of weird and quite obvious, and he is quite clearly a villain, and they should really have known that. But nevertheless, it's not until Anakin just pops up to Mace Windu and says, hey, by the way, the Supreme Chancellor is the Sith Lord. And then Mace says, oh dear, we should go and do something about that. And they just casually walk off. That's the point at which things become kind of irrevocable. But yeah, any information before then, everything changes.
Listen, no, that was just the season finale. All right. I didn't watch season 1. I heard that Ahsoka was in the finale of season 1 and season 2. So I started watching season 2 for her episodes in it. And then when she died, I was like, all right, I'm out. And then later, oh my God, I remember having a conversation with one of my friends. After that episode, I was like, that's a good ending for a character. That was actually a good scene in the show. And then one of my friends was like, but what if she lives? And I'm like, she's not going to live. Why would they do that? This is like a very important character moment for both Darth Vader and Ahsoka. Why would they bring her back? And then he's like, but what if she lived? And I was like, they would be absolutely stupid. And then season 4 came around, and then Ezra goes into time and grabs her out of time. I'm very frustrated.
So you're really looking forward to Ahsoka. Is anybody else really looking forward to Ahsoka? No.
Can I watch it without watching any other Star Wars stuff? Like, do I need to watch something else to get it?
But it sounds like no is the answer to that question.
I think it is going to be very dependent on Rebels, so probably not.
They'd be fucking crazy to do that, though.
Yep.
I don't think the gods of Disney would be like, yeah, this will play off of the cartoon that we had no rights to until like a few months ago. I don't know.
Well, they made Rebels. Disney made Rebels. They canceled.
Didn't they make the last few seasons? I thought they didn't make the first couple.
No, no, that was Clone Wars. They canceled Clone Wars with season 5 to make their own show that was worse.
Classic Disney.
In classic Disney fashion.
I still don't. I feel like they'll either zoom through all the backstory or they'll make the backstory not matter at all.
I think, I don't know. I think because Dave Filoni is at the helm of this, Disney is just like, oh my God, it's Dave Filoni. Let him do literally anything he wants. So this is season 5.
He's the chosen one.
Yeah, and apparently because of the Dave Filoni goblins that are coming out of the woodwork on Twitter, everyone is just like, oh my God, it's Dave Filoni. This is going to be peak Star Wars.
I think it is very clearly building up as a capping off of things that have gone before, as opposed to a standalone show. So because I'm doing Mandalorian Part 2 at the moment in the review, So going back through that and sort of picking up the bits that you think will probably come through again into Ahsoka, and the way they've been very, very overtly crammed into scenes where they don't quite belong. So there is a scene in Mando. Is it season 3, episode 7? I think it is
3.
Yeah, season 3, episode 7 is the one where Gideon and the Shadow Council are talking. It's the first time we've ever seen like the Shadow Council and Moff Pelion and Hux's dad, because he's a character apparently.
What?
And they mention, there's Dominic. It's Dominic Gleeson's brother who plays General Hux's dad, Brendel Hux.
That is a neat piece of information that I will do nothing with, as I do.
And he's working on something called Project Necromancer, because it's just fucking cringe.
No,
anyway,
they're gonna do the EU zombies. They're gonna do it.
Well, they could do that, or it's Snoke's backstory, which I think is probably more likely to be the thing. Or they could be doing cloning Palpatine like the old EU did, but I suspect it's going to be Snoke. Anyway, the point of this being that it's the first time I think in the live action that Thrawn is overtly mentioned. They just chuck his name in as this grand plan they have going, and he's going to be back soon. And
he's mentioned in season 2 of Mando.
Is he?
Yeah, because Ahsoka fights the staff woman, and then in the middle of the fight,
of course, she says, "Where is Thrawn?"
Where is Thrawn?
That's another piece of information she's apparently done absolutely nothing with in the interim, because nobody else seems to know that he's coming. So I'm gonna have to go back and insert that into the script. I'd completely forgotten about that episode.
Have you seen the trailer for Ahsoka? Have you seen what Thrawn looks like?
I think I've seen the back of his head. He's Lars Mikkelsen, isn't he?
So imagine Elon Musk but blue.
Okay.
That's what Thrawn looks like. I'm not kidding. Anyway, Vex,
question.
you have your hand raised.
Sorry.
Yes.
I would really like to reiterate, I don't like Star Wars and I'm not a Star Wars fan. Who is Dave Filoni that everyone in the chat is talking about?
He is George Lucas's little pupil that came in to make Clone Wars, and then George Lucas spoke so highly of him, and then he sold the company, and then Disney was like, "Oh my God, you made Clone Wars?" And then they gave him Rebels, and it was just kind of like meh, but everyone was still just like, "Oh my God, it's Dave Filoni." And then later he did Mandalorian with
bits and pieces, with Jon Favreau.
Yes, and then
wasn't season 1 of Mando though like pretty okay with most audiences?
Well,
I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say it's good.
It was a kind of enjoyably shit, going back to that thing we touched on earlier. But yeah, no, to answer, Filoni is George Lucas's apprentice, and George Lucas taught his apprentice everything he knew, and then his apprentice murdered him in his sleep.
Yeah, so, and also Dave Filoni has a very weird history of just changing canon where he wants to, because he wants to tell his story. Like, for example, the Sith, in weird ways too, like the Sith home planet of Korriban. He changed its name to Moraban for no reason.
Okay.
Yeah, he just changed it to an M because
it will always be Korriban in my heart.
Yeah, it is Korriban.
I remember playing that in Knights of the Old Republic.
I think he even changed it to Korriban at some point.
So was Rebels any good?
Rebels was very long.
That's
it was very unneeded. It had some interesting elements as season 2. Captain Rex came back. I guess that was kind of cool. But
it was content. That is what it sounds like.
It is very much, and it tries to set up the birth of the Empire, but the Empire is completely incompetent throughout the entire thing. So it's like, wow, why were these people even a challenge at all? Unlike Andor,
all Disney Star Wars Empire stuff, with the exception of Andor, the Empire is just completely fucking incompetent, and there's no way these people can have got as far as they did.
The Empire.
It's the bit in Obi-Wan where they smuggle Leia out underneath a giant trench coat, and you're just thinking, like, how the hell are these people in charge? None of this could possibly have happened.
Okay, follow-up question. Why is Andor so, like, either you hate it or you love it?
Because people with no taste and no patience don't like it. Because there's not enough laser guns, there's no lightsabers, also, there's no Jedi in it. It's too dialogue heavy and political, and people got bored. It was really boring, is the main criticism that you often hear of Andor by people who presumably drool over the Mandalorian.
Yes.
In fact, the reason it's much really well loved is because it's the first Disney Star Wars thing since Rogue One, but it's better than Rogue One, but it's certainly the first since Rogue One, which you can look at and think, you know what? This doesn't think I'm an idiot, and it doesn't rely on me being stupid for it to work. And it's actually genuinely well written, not just by comparison, but on its own merits. So there's a lot to recommend it.
Yeah, Matt, shut up. Respectfully. You said Flash was fun. Your opinion doesn't matter. I'm sorry. All right.
I bet you like
you also like
Beetle.
Aquaman. Oh my god.
Andrew's bought receipts, so that's it's not gonna.
He likes Aquaman the character, not necessarily the movie, though. To be fair,
I mean, either way, it's a guy that talks to fish. But Andrew, he doesn't talk to fish. He uses mind waves to try to communicate. That's talking, bro. That's talking. Andor is really good.
Yeah, Andor is genuinely
Also,
very good
I
stuff.
think the reason Andor failed, it's just because of how Star Wars not only damaged the brand, but also the remaining franchise or the remaining fan base. Because the fan base, especially with you like that. I did not like Dial of Destiny. Who just said that?
no,
Ban
it's not
that
that
guy.
he.
No, it's
he
not that. It's
liked
that
it.
you, it's that you don't like other Indiana Jones, which
right.
makes
You don't like Indiana Jones at all. Is the problem?
Okay,
with you.
not even at all. I just hate Temple of Doom. I think the first one's okay. I think the second one is absolutely terrible, and I think the third one is good. That's my take on Indiana Jones. There you go, chat.
It's less wrong than you've presented it previously, so that's an improvement. But yes.
Right. Anyway, on my talking point, I think like especially with Mandalorian and Boba Fett, I think it has groomed the audience to be excited for the demanded like 3 fight scenes an episode format where people fight for no reason. And also, especially with Rebels, and then you have it in the movies too, an incompetent empire, and people are just okay with that. And people just want things to happen fast and not actually see a methodical build up to anything happening. And that is what Andor is. And honestly, I think Andor is like, and Andor doesn't really have any nostalgia bait for Star Wars. It's, if anything, I'd say it's probably like anti-nostalgia bait because everything looks so different. Like the Empire looks and feels different just because it feels competent.
It's competent, which is a huge change.
And the production design is very different from what we've seen in Star Wars. It does
mostly
feel
practical.
Yeah, and it does feel like an expanded piece of Star Wars media. Like what's Ferrix is the city that they live in or the planet?
Yeah.
That place has like so much going on with it that I've never seen in a Star Wars thing before. They have culture, they have people are very closely knit together, and then when you see the Empire come in, you see that family of people react to that.
It has world building in it, which is just again so unusual for Disney Star Wars. But I think Rags made the point that Disney has sort of cultivated a very particular kind of audience for its product. And ultimately, that is the kind of thing, the kind of people who say, well, they might even have hated the sequel trilogy, but The Mandalorian at least didn't hate them, so they like The Mandalorian. So they got used to The Mandalorian's form of storytelling. I say storytelling in the broadest possible sense. And Andor was a shockingly grown-up and mature take on Star Wars, which the children were not quite ready for. But I mean, it would be nice to think that Ahsoka was... I could see some criticisms of Andor's pacing, and it's... you could have more action in it, but it would be nice to think that there was a mix of like Mando action with Andor writing, and Ahsoka is actually a good show. But the problem is it's not going to be that. And also it is going to be wrapping up a storyline that very few people have actually watched. One of the worst possible things to do if you're trying to expand your brand and bring in a new audience, which Disney needs to do. Probably not the best idea to say, hey, we're going to be doing season 5 of this cartoon show that you never actually saw, but we're doing it in live action now, so it's even better. More expensive.
Also, Dave Filoni has this weird thing where he thinks like he's like, oh, I desperately want to go into live action. Like I want to elevate my medium. And it's like, because he just by default thinks that animation is inferior to live action. It's like, these are 2 different storytelling mediums. Like I don't necessarily understand the comparison to the 2. You could, whether or not it's live action doesn't mean that it's automatically a better story. And that's something that he said that he just thinks like live action is better, which is just weird.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the thing. It's going to come out in this Mando Part 2 script, assuming that video ever gets done. Is this idea that you are building off of an awful lot of stuff that no one's actually seen, and very few people will remember. And it's not the best use even of the character. If you're going to insist on doing an Ahsoka show, probably best to have actually built that out in live action first before you start introducing this kind of thing, because there's an awful lot of genuinely good backstory in the old expanded universe stuff that they've borrowed bits and pieces from. Like Admiral Thrawn's backstory is a genuinely interesting one, but if they're relying on Rebels the cartoon to have told that and the audience to be familiar with it, it's not going to be done justice. So
yeah, Thrawn was put in already the Rebels. Yeah, Thrawn is in Rebels, so the idea of him being like true to EU is out the window.
Can I just interrupt, because I've also been wondering this. I have no idea what the background to this stream is. There's a rocket and a dragon.
Yeah.
From what I can
No,
see.
can anyone take a guess in the chat? This is like a deep cut.
Did I say it was?
Is it Rings of Power? Because it looks like it could be.
Yo, they
Is
have
it
a rocket.
Godzilla versus Mothra in the background?
It's Godzilla and Rodan versus King Ghidorah.
Is there any reason outside of edibles that was chosen for our background?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I joined the thing and I just see this picture and I was just like, what is going on? And then a movie cynic showed up in sunglasses and I'm like, okay.
That's why he's not been saying anything. He's just been staring, just dumbstruck by this awesome visual that you can see
staring at the
fractions
background.
of.
Yeah, for 2 hours.
How long ago did you take those?
I took them like 3.5 hours ago. They're still going strong. Good.
Anyway, well, yeah. Is anyone here actually going to be watching Ahsoka then, besides me and Andrew?
I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, if I don't need to
I
watch
probably
any
will.
other Star Wars stuff, I'll maybe check it out. Just
It
to
might be
probably
entertaining.
have to.
Not like just go in without watching anything. Even if you do need to watch other things, just don't do it. Go in and see what you make of it, because that could be quite funny.
because I know
think-
they're really pushing the women angle with this series. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of women in the trailer. There's a suspicious amount of women in the trailer, even.
Suspicious about women.
are they landing on Mars? Is that why? Did you see that article that came out this week?
What?
No?
No.
That the first manned mission to Mars should be completely led by females, and it
But
even
then it's
says
not a manned
mission.
mission, is it?
Yeah, they use manned mission in the subtitle too, which is quite funny. So
I like actually not even being like a women are dumb
Thank
kind
you.
of thing. I don't know if
Really?
that could literally work. Yo, Andrew is hot. We're talking about this last night. On a little tangent. Andrew's just cute. He's so cute. Everyone should
he's
appreciate
What do you
in a
think of
Ned
when he has
Flanders kind of way.
when he has the Cosby shirt on though? How do you take him?
I have a huge crush on Rosario Dawson, and I always will. And I know
Andrew
she's
looks
into
like
big
her.
black guys because
What?
she was dating Cory Booker for a while.
What did you
So-
just say?
Do you even like her with the weird tentacle things on her head and her skin's orange, though?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. She,
The makeup does make her eyes look wonky. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's a makeup issue because her eyes look fine when she's not orange, but
And they keep changing the length of her tentacles, which is
they
like,
do.
does her hair grow? Does she get it cut? Or is that how that
No.
works?
All
They
depends on
grow
the
when
time of the
she's
month.
aroused.
So it is weird because in the ending, the finale of Rebels, she looks like Gandalf of the White. I'm not kidding, by the way.
What? He has a huge beard.
Maybe, you know what? It would be really funny just to see Platoon react to just the last episode of
I'm gonna go and
Rebels.
watch it after this stream.
So, and her tentacles are huge. And then in Mandalorian, they shrunk them because Filoni was like, "Oh no, practicality." But apparently, the bigger those tentacles are, the hotter you are in Twi'lek culture. So that's a fun Twi'lek add-on.
Backface
Can't
nods
wait
in
for it.
agreement. So yeah, hope
We
we can
like-
hope for big tentacles, if nothing else, from the Ahsoka show.
Woo!
Is there anything else on the docket for us to be talking about, or shall we move on to Super Jazz for the last bit of the show? Cynic, did you have anything else?
No, those were the 3 topics. This
Anybody
week.
else spot
Only
anything
has
they
said
fancy
3
bringing
things.
up before we move on?
Oh wait, can we bring a topic from our show yesterday?
If you want.
did we say?
Logan Paul walking out of Oppenheimer and saying on his podcast that it was just people talking. And it was only exposition. We don't got to talk about it, but it was the most hilarious shit I've ever seen. He's such a moron.
I did.
Oh,
There was a Twitter
douche.
clip today where it was just a compilation of just his bad media takes. Astronomically terrible media like critic. Just stick to talking about current drama on your show and beating up people.
Is he the YouTube drama person turned boxer? Is that the one? Because I don't
Yep,
follow.
that's the one.
He's yeah, and also I think he just didn't like Oppenheimer because he didn't see this to see dead Japanese bodies.
I was gonna say there wasn't a dead body in there, so
I don't know if
did
that's
you-
gonna get the stream canceled. I apologize, but I don't
I
think
don't think so.
No, you didn't say the S word. You good?
we're
Oh,
not
that's true.
showing a dead body, so we're okay
True.
there.
It didn't show a dead body. Lame.
Apart from
you know
Cynic
you
for 40-minute stretches of the stream, but otherwise, no, there's no dead bodies on this one.
I
at all.
had my outbursts. What are you talking? I contributed.
Oh, it's
Did you
sad that
guys-
these beacons of masculinity. You got Logan Paul who says that like talking is bad, and then you've got Andrew Tate who says his brain is too big for reading. So yes,
And then
this
he makes
this
and then
is-
he
What?
makes a comic book. And then he makes a comic book.
which way, Western man?
Oh my god.
Did you guys see that whole Starfield loading screen drama that was happening on Twitter at all?
People
That
are
was
so
really-
dumb.
It's a
Suffer
loading
a
screen
bit.
drama.
Yeah, so there
Isn't
was
it too simple for people?
yeah, they put out like a screenshot of what the Starfield like just like loading screen is, and it's literally just the logo, and then it has a start button and stuff like that on one side, and then it has like a little banner on. It's very simple, which is what Bethesda is known for doing. And this guy who got fired from Blizzard for literally just squandering money on one of their like worst games ever, decided to go and be like, "Oh, this is like so small." He tried to throw out some fucking like big brain words to show how stupid it was, and then some of the developers started coming out just like, "Dude, it's a loading screen. Like, what do you want from us?" And then there was another journalist from Forbes who decided to chime in yesterday and basically call this dude a Nazi for using a word that he loosely tied to Nazi science. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Over
What's
a
Nazi?
loading screen.
What is Nazi
Over a
science?
loading screen, yes. It's who cares if it runs smoothly or is fun. The loading screen is
I
where
feel
we
that the
got
ideal
attacked.
game is one where you either see very little of or no loading screens. Like it's
That's
not the
what
thing
I would
you
prefer
want to be
too.
looking at.
Right.
Isn't like the Ghost of Tsushima's loading screen pretty simple too?
Very simplistic. Yep. It's not uncommon. So I just thought that was funny, like stupid developer drama. That's all.
That's what a
Yeah,
loading screen
I'm-
should be. Just a still image, some tips at the bottom for like retards, just to make sure that they don't kill themselves in the same way again. And then like the start button, and that's all you want.
Oh, that reminds me of the loading screens for Jedi Fallen Order. Those things were so stupid. The quotes that they would have.
Have you
I'm
tried
just thinking, like-
jumping over the hole?
I'm just saying, like, even the Call of
Literal.
Duty loading screens are so bloated with like advertisements, then tips, then all the different kind of game modes you can go into. Like, I like simple loading, like, start screens, as someone pointed out. But yeah, it just caused a lot of drama, really unnecessarily.
I don't know a huge amount about Starfield besides this drama, and I know that it's coming out and that it's going to be huge. So, like, what should we be looking out for? Is this a game that, like, someone like me would be interested in, for example? I'll probably
It's
get
a
it.
massive open world sci-fi adventure game.
It's apparently like supposed to be like No Man's Sky, like space adventure.
So
infinitely
broken on
bigger.
launch.
Honestly,
What-
probably. as well.
What all of the the reviewers that have gotten early codes for are saying is that there are so far no bugs with 20 hours of gameplay.
Holy shit.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Big Bethesda rare W.
Yeah, I'm going to be reviewing it on the
Hypothetically.
gaming channel, so see what happens.
I might stream it if my supercomputer is back from the shop by the time it comes out.
I might get it if the space stuff doesn't give me anxiety.
Oh,
You get anxiety in space.
I do not like space. Little.
is
listen.
it just
Is-
why?
Is that space conceptually, or is like an absence of objects?
both? I guess. Like I don't like space.
Is that
this
why
why
your
you
room
built
is
such a small
so
room?
cluttered? It's because you can't have any.
Wait,
Hold on, hold on.
wait 1 sec. Wait 1 sec. Andrew, can you just stand and go stand by your door
Oh
frame?
my.
we
How
we
much-
did this yesterday. Just look how ridiculously he lives in a hobbit hole. He looks like he's like 7'9". It's hilarious. Every time.
He wants to be careful. There's a lot of space between him and that chair. It's gonna anxiety inducing.
Listen,
I was gonna say,
okay.
wait, you like Star Wars though, and that takes place all in space.
That's just teleporting around to planets at this point.
What about when they're in the ships, like going pew pew and everything?
Yeah, but there's sound in space, which makes me think, oh, it's just air. But no, like space, I hate. Like Interstellar freaks me out. That sounds stupid, but like black hole, I don't like black holes. They're like my biggest
Those are
fear.
kind of creepy. Yeah, I wouldn't want to get sucked into one of those either.
And like so I play No Man's Sky a bit, like in 20-minute intervals because it freaks me out. But one of the missions is to go through a black hole, and I absolutely am not doing that.
You're probably quite lucky because most people's biggest fear is like proximate, and so they have to encounter it periodically, like spiders. People don't like spiders.
I have that fear too. Don't worry.
But you're fine though, because it's like, well, it's black holes, but the odds of you actually encountering one of those in day-to-day life when you're not watching Grace Randolph is quite small.
It's 7:00. Leave me alone.
No, we went over this yesterday. He's not afraid of the ocean. He's not afraid of deep ocean stuff, which you'd think would be the same fear.
Nah, I mean, it's just water.
I think I got vertigo watching Finding Nemo once, but I was really small. And it's that scene when it's just like the depth of the ocean and the barracuda comes out of it. And like tiny me was just, oh, fuck, that's big. And then
yeah, that it can be a bit, I don't know. I don't go to the ocean that often, so I don't.
But you go to space often?
Yes, I do. Well, no, because like there's these like the rare occasion that I like scroll like YouTube shorts. Like there's these ones where it's like, what if the sun disappeared? And like those TikToks freak me out because it's in like the inevitable death of everyone on the earth, and it's just like, oh great, thanks.
I don't know, man. It's like with all this space stuff and the fact that you apparently do go there often, I'm expecting to go back to, say, like Men in Black, and there's a cameo of just Andrew in the place with all the aliens.
I'm about to say, hold up, my planet needs me. But yeah, I don't like space.
So you won't be playing Starfield. Fair enough.
I may be, but I don't know.
You can fast travel, all right? But you got to explore first, Andrew.
Oh no.
Yeah.
He's exploring my biggest fear.
So No Man's Sky was annoying because I have this problem with open world games generally, is that like unless there's quite a strong through line of plot to actually keep me with the sense that I'm doing something with a purpose, I get bored and just stop playing it. So is this going to be more sort of Skyrim open world where there is a strong and definite plot, or is it just kind of, hey, explore, do what you want, build your own base, we're not actually going to be giving you any particular thing to do?
It's a mix of both from what my understanding is. So there is a plot that you actually do follow, but there's a lot of freedom to do whatever you want, build what you want, all that stuff. They've been working 25 years on this game, apparently. So take that as you will. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have any hype for this, but like I'm just like, oh, that will be a good way to revive the other channel that I completely abandoned several months ago. So I'll give it a try. And I have a Game Pass subscription, so
I think I have one of those, but I think it came with a computer that isn't working, so I can't use it, which is really helpful. But I will probably get it. I've got loads of catching up to do. Baldur's Gate 3 is sitting there just unusable at the moment, so like, I'm looking forward to picking up the story of my weird elf twink that I created.
You're Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, basically.
You made Andrew on Baldur's Gate?
I'm not a twink!
No twink of mine will be seen dead with a mustache. It's not going to happen.
Twinks don't wear mustaches. They're hairless. I'll let you know I have 3 chest hairs, all right?
Confirmed Andrew wears his mustache. He did not grow it. Confirmed.
He takes it off when he goes to bed every night.
It's like teeth. You just take them out.
Well, yeah. On that note, I guess we can move on. Can we? Should we start with the old supers, and then we can round off the day?
Sure.
We will kick off. Cynic, I think the word baked for some reason makes me think of you, so you can take this one.
Dean's Half-Baked Productions for $20 smooth. He says, appreciate you guys. Well, we appreciate you, man. Thank
Very
you,
much
Dean.
do.
can we just have him read the super chats?
Cynic can do all of the super chats. Okay.
KN/Green for $9.99. That's The big bucks right there. The sister was only thing I didn't like. This actor plays the same character, everything. Matriarch was shown by the grandmother. I assume we're talking about Blue Beetle here. The sister's reaction when the father was having a heart attack was fucking hilarious.
I didn't really get the hilariousness of that one. What was funny about that?
It's so fucking cringe. The acting was so bad, dude. Like
I thought it was good.
When Jaime was being dragged away and it's supposed to be really emotional. He's just yelling like, no. I don't know, man. That whole fucking scene just had me dying. I was texting Vex while it was happening too. So it was like a live reaction. Like, this shit is so bad. I just don't understand how anyone's going to say it's good. And then I come out and all my friends are like, it was actually all right.
Had you had edibles before you saw that?
Maybe I would have had more fun. But I saw it with 2 other people and everyone's just like, yeah, this movie's ass, dude. We were the only people in the theater too. You know, we were there.
Just a note to myself on the re-upload. So when you upload videos to YouTube and you monetize them, you have to put like ad sensitivity ratings in, one of which is drugs or discussions of drugs. And I'm going to have to just turn it on just because my co-host is basically qualifying for an ad block. So that's great.
Doesn't it count? Isn't it safe now though? Like marijuana?
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
very
like
least?
because Shu does live shows when she's like, this is legal.
I was gonna say,
Right.
No,
Twitch
it's not.
also
It's still
allows you to
illegal.
stream while you're high. Like it's not breaking
Yeah.
any POS. So
Oh.
Sorry. All right.
Are we still making Cynic read?
yeah,
Yes,
let's please. Yeah.
Have Cynic read just this is just going to be the only thing he says. It's just reading.
John the Man Good for $5. I always wondered who have these superhero films been for. They've all been ass, not even the good kind of ass. Face.
Face. That's more of a meh face. I'd say.
I don't know. Every time
That looks like Platoon on most of his videos.
yeah. Every time
True.
I get I review a superhero movie and someone with autism comes into the comments and gets really upset, they always say, "Huh, talking shit about a kids movie," and I always respond, "Huh, on a video on YouTube about a kids movie, talking shit. Interesting." So I don't know who it's for.
I usually just comment die.
Clearly not the Latinos because they didn't show up in theaters.
I feel like the goal was to hit the lowest common denominator, and they went a little too low. You know, they
It is
wanted to
weird
hit the lowest
because,
bar of person they could, and they just slipped
I
below
saved this
cognizant.
quote from Zolo Man. Let me bring it up because he was talking about the movie is a worldwide movie, even though they're focusing so much on like Latino culture. Like I didn't pick up on it, like most of the references to Latino culture. Like I heard that they mentioned a Latino superhero that was also based on a bug, and they quoted that a lot. And he said in like, I don't know why he's saying it's a worldwide movie when there's references in it that only, like, the majority of the references are pretty much all Latino culture references, which isn't a bad thing, but to say it's a worldwide movie is probably incorrect.
It only raked in like I think 14 million worldwide this past weekend.
25?
I got 25 domestic.
Oh, is it 25? What was the domestic then? Was that 14?
Domestic was 25. So
Yeah.
it might have been 14 worldwide.
That's what I mean.
14
14 worldwide. Yeah.
That's rough. Just how your mother likes it.
It is funny. It has not had the Wakanda effect, and it's interesting to sort of ask why that is, given that they're marketed in basically the same way, and they are made in a very similar way in terms of targeting a demographic, and yet one group turns out en masse and one group does not.
I think it's because Black Panther was introduced in Civil War, which gave him so much credibility. Like, Black Panther was cool in Civil War. Like, he's the coolest part about the movie. He shows up all black hunting Winter Soldier. That guy was cool. And then like during the airport fight, he's just like like he's just like, I'm not here to play, and he's like throwing everybody around. Yeah, I liked him in Civil War, but then his movie happened, and I grew a distaste for him. I think that's why that movie did good.
Yeah, I'm also like, there's also this strike thing. Unfortunately, has ruined a lot of the potential like advertising they could do for this by the actors. But the other reason, which I won't say because I don't want your channel to be completely removed.
Okay.
I think we all know.
Oh. Well, we can just leave that one hanging.
All right.
Take a guess.
I was gonna say, I think it also has to do with like black. This is gonna sound racist coming from me, so I can say it, whatever.
Damn,
like black people are like more monolithic in culture. I feel like a lot of them have like similar views and pull from similar like experiences. Where I think the Latino culture is more like, I think what it does well is it like portrays Latino family well, and like they're kind of more family values based culture, I guess. But also in the same way, you can't really pull like if you're pulling like say the grandma being a like work or like fighting in past wars and stuff. I feel like that's something you can only lightly touch on, like because they're such a derivative political body, like Latinos, especially in America. So I feel like it's almost easier to give a message that more black people can resonate with, because more black people resonate with the same message versus the Latinos.
Yeah, there was a poll done. I think it was a 2019 one of the Pew studies on like social attitudes, which was asking people of various different races how important their race was to their identity. And I think these numbers might be wrong, but I think they're basically right. 75%, I think it was, of African Americans said that being black was either incredibly or just very important to their sense of identity. The figure for Latinos was the second highest. I think that was like 56%, and the figure for white people was 15%. So it does sort of track, I think, like kind of what you were saying, Backface, and there's a stronger like unitary identity maybe with African Americans than there is with like Latin and Hispanic Americans, for various historical reasons.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of like Bagface's comment as well, there's a very specific like I guess like community of Hispanic that they target with this film that isn't necessarily going to be as widely acknowledged, because like a lot of the references they make are specifically Mexican in nature. Like there was that whole Mexican soap opera that they kept referencing as well. So someone of maybe like Spanish or Brazilian origin wouldn't necessarily equate it the same way.
Yeah, I'd like to see the response of like Cuban Americans in Florida to the news that this grandmother was a socialist revolutionary. Not sure that's going to play quite so well down there as it might with other Hispanics, for example.
I also think there was just a big push because it was like the first MCU black-led movie, and like the idea of Wakanda being like just like an African colony that was super advanced. I feel like there was a big like social push for people to see that movie, and also like there was just like a social acceptance that that movie was good. I didn't see it in theaters just because I just wasn't interested in it. And like everyone that I talked to that did see it said that it was really good. And I think at the time I wasn't really into movie criticism that much. But I was still like relatively interested in movies. And then I like watched it like a while later, probably like a year before Wakanda Forever came out. And it was really bad. So yeah, it does feel like a cultural phenomenon. And you also have the BLM movement that was happening around that time, and that still happened throughout Wakanda Forever. So I feel like that is the other big push for this movie, is the cultural relevance of you must see this movie. It's so important.
There was also like Michael B. Jordan crushed that shit.
Oh yeah, this movie actually has like big stars in it. Because you have Michael B. Jordan and then
Chadwick Boseman,
yeah, which are like two great actors. Which are two great actors, so it was really good in terms of like the acting quality in that movie. But
there was a lot of marketing that went into Black Panther, though. I really feel like that we got to acknowledge that, because I remember there were like the costumes everywhere, the toys were everywhere. Then you saw literally ads in everything for it as well. I like it's kind of like it's a Barbie phenomenon a little bit, right?
Yes, it did imply it was fighting racism.
Yeah, it did.
So
Yeah.
And you also had like free publicity, like white New York Times writers saying, "I bought 2 tickets and gave them to black people. Applaud
Oh
me."
yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you had for Wakanda Forever, you had that one person who said, "If you're white, you must protect black people to go
Lie
see this
down in
movie."
front of the theater and protect the people inside.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wasn't there also like don't take away tickets from black viewers? Like if you're white,
Yeah.
don't go see Black
Yep.
Panther.
This is why I always come back to that white savior shit. It's like woke culture isn't anything except for just white saviorism gone insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I don't need you to save me.
Well, you also had
I'm black, dude.
Every single like white woke person just imagines themselves as Daenerys Targaryen when she's crowd surfing, lying back, being elevated.
You also have after Civil War, people loved Black Panther. Like the costumes came out before Black Panther the movie, and like you already had people doing the salute that they do before the movie even came out, like in the trailers. And like you had like kids on the playground like acting like Black Panther and playing make believe with him. So he is like a very iconic character, and that's why it happened. But with Blue Beetle, number one, it's a very niche. I'd say Blue Beetle's like a nicher comic superhero.
Yeah, because the costume and everything, like just zoom out a little bit, like it's just not nearly as cool. Like Black Panther, that is a cool looking costume.
Bro, he is
like,
a super ninja, dude. And Blue Beetle
Blue
is just...
Beetle has a mech that farts, like fucking awesome, dude.
And Blue Beetle also just feels like they copied their own game and they just made Green Lantern again.
Much better than Green Lantern, though.
Oh yeah, I think
Far
Blue
better.
Beetle as a
Yeah.
franchise is probably better than Green Lantern. Green Lantern is just some little nerd with a ring. Congrats, bro. You're a space cop, I guess.
Cynic, you're on reading duties again.
Jose Gonzalez, member for 6 months, says Ready Player Beetle now with salsa.
I'm
Ready
in.
Player One is another one of those quite shit films that I quite enjoyed. Going back to that theme.
Oh, you enjoyed that?
Well, no,
That's
I thought it was
weird.
shit, but also kind of like if I had it on in the background, which I think is the only time I've ever actually seen it, looked over occasionally. It's like I understood that reference and then moved on. Also, there's a Gundam in it.
That movie was
there
really
is.
disappointing, actually. The book was pretty solid. So I don't know how they got that adaptation out of it, unfortunately.
Spielberg fell off. We can all say it. We can admit it.
Real, he fell off at Temple of Doom, boys. Amen. Everyone can agree with me on that. Am I right, chat?
Wait, what about Jurassic Park? Hold on.
Am I right?
Schindler's List? Nah, it's all shit.
Fell off.
Campbell Patterson for an Australian $4. The A stands for Australian dollars. Damn it!
You mean they're not ass dollars anymore?
Not
I liked
dollars.
ass dollars better.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
us, they will
fine.
always be ass dollars. So
The Gourd King for $2
Yeah.
American dollars cast a white guy as Blade and call him Switchblade. We've laughed at this one 3 times.
We've
already.
already
It
laughed
has
at
staying
that
power.
It is- it's- it
just,
is
I'll
so
put it like the
funny.
timestamp. Like for laughter at this joke, go back to 1 hour.
For our initial reactions.
After we're done with these, we'll just click on this again for the outro.
Yeah. Esther Dickerson for $4.99. Supposedly, Hugh Jackman is in talks for being signed on for a 9-movie deal as Wolverine. Ryan and Hugh are both supposedly going to be in Secret Wars.
That
That's
can't be
impossible.
real. He's
Yeah,
going to
that's-
die. The amount of
Yeah.
steroids he's going to take, he's
Yeah,
gonna
his
have a
heart will
attack.
give out for sure.
Unless he's filming cameos for just 9 movies, so he's not fully in there. He's just going to appear in 9 films.
I
Yeah.
would be
Was he
shocked
signed
if he
to wear his
wasn't in
likeness
Secret
for
Wars.
9 movies, maybe? Like likeness, so that
Oh.
his likeness would appear in 9 films.
I would be shocked if he was not in Secret Wars though, because
Yeah, he
Old
will
Man
be.
Logan in the comic books is in Secret Wars. So I could see it. I don't know.
I don't think I would even want Old Man Logan just because that would just like, oh guys, remember Logan, the good movie? Now he's
Yeah.
been bastardized in Secret Wars.
Mm. Plus, the actual character of Old Man Logan is so cool. It's like a separate Wolverine character almost.
Mhm.
It would be awesome for him to get like his own movie, even couple movies, but we won't.
Or 9 movies, even.
Or 9. Give me 9 Old Man Logan movies.
He has a cane.
Can they, if they undo what happened in Logan, then I don't know if Logan is supposed to be canon for whatever Deadpool is doing, but
It should.
so are they
It's
going
a
to
good
undo that?
movie. I don't.
Well, no, this is going to be a parallel universe Logan for
Gotcha.
sure.
Well, it's
They're
multiverse.
not-
There's no stakes. It's just the same character, but Deadpool pulled him.
So
Gotcha.
Logan did die in Logan. You're just meeting a different Logan that looks exactly like that one and probably has the same history too, so that we think that it's the one that we like.
Yeah, it's the same thing they're doing with Daredevil. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also
Too
the same
much
thing they
going
did with Loki as well. That's the annoying thing about multiverse, is bringing back people like that. Because I remember having like, a few comments. Was it the Thor video when I was talking about bringing Loki back? And I had a number of people say, "Oh, but it's not the same Loki." I was like, "No, but it is the same Loki right up until he dies in the penultimate film of the Avengers." So for all intents and purposes, yeah, it's the same guy. So it's, or is he? Because there's a couple of minutes that he missed, and those couple of minutes are pretty important. So
and they did it with Vision too. They brought him back as White, and it's like, okay, they're going to do something different with White Vision, right? And then it's normal Vision just gives him his memories.
If your sex toy breaks, you can buy a new one. That's different than going into a multiverse.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, but she is sentimental with this one. She wants this one, not White one.
But I think the problem is that because they can also do this random laissez-faire approach to character memory as well. So I would be fine if they brought Loki back and said, no, we are actually making this a qualitatively different Loki because of the missed experiences. Though there aren't very many of them, there are enough to like we can branch off and do something new. Same thing with like Old Man Logan. But if they bring them back and say, well, it's a different character, so it's not just repeating, but we've also given them all of the memories for the people who remember that kind of thing. That's having it both ways, and that's cheating, and I don't like it. Where are we? Oh, there we are. Cynic, wake up.
I'm sorry. I'm texting my Call of Duty plans.
You text your what?
I'm in a group chat so that we're we're all gonna get together after this.
You have a Call of Duty group chat, and you call yourself a nerd.
Nope. Nope. I don't actually. Esther Dickerson again for $1.99. They're supposedly considering ditching MCU. Yeah.
Do you see how many female characters they have? They're not going to ditch MCU.
If you think they're going to ditch MCU after Barbie, you're fucking crazy.
Listen, bro. Okay, I'm all down to ditch it, but bring Haley Steinfeld back.
I was gonna say, haven't they just brought on a whole bunch of young actresses that they could easily wrap into 10-year contracts?
Yep.
So it's almost.
I mean, they've already done that with Miss Marvel.
We've got Miss Marvel, Riri Williams, Cassie Lang. We have who's some of the other ones? There are like loads that I'm forgetting because they're forgettable.
Kate Blanchett. Wait, oh my God, no,
Kate
Bishop.
What?
Kate Bishop. Haley Steinfeld.
I don't think we're at Kate Blanchett levels of desperation yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. Yeah, Kate Bishop. That's another one. What's her name? Black Widow's sister.
There might be the Thor's daughter in Thor 4 if they want to go.
Oh yeah,
that
she's in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's way too young, right?
And they can just recast her.
But if they do like an age progression thing, because we know she's superhuman, but we don't know like what aging is like for her, right? And then don't we also have Valkyrie from Thor in there as well?
Perfect.
They've already set the footwork out. So like to just blow all that now, like maybe it'll just be less of a focus. But
what male characters do we have left? We have
Thor.
I mean, Hawkeye is still around. Thor.
Hawkeye.
Does Kang count?
Oh, Hulk.
We don't know legally yet whether Kang counts.
Legally, we don't know. We have
Captain America.
Thor's son.
Ant-Man.
Oh, wait, no, not Thor's son. Hulk's son.
Winter Soldier as well is still included.
I guess.
Oh yeah, you got everybody on the Thunderbolts roster. So you got like David Harbour and.
I mean, there's Alexi, but I don't know.
And then doesn't Loki still count as well because he's still got his show going on?
Yep.
My man's in a completely different universe. He's just not. He's vibing on his own. I don't know if they're ever going to have him.
Nick Fury's corpse is still being hoisted around the screen.
And then if Deadpool brings back all these characters too, then there's a potential for all of those people to come in as well.
Did I read something that Patrick Stewart is coming back to play Professor X in one of these upcoming films? I think.
in Deadpool.
Because they give him
or
so
Star
much
Wars.
money, Andrew.
They give him a
He's
lot.
so old. He can't
He's at
act
that point
anymore.
in his life where he's like, "This is for my grandkids."
Dude,
he just
he-
hands them
The
the role
great
directly.
grandkids at this point.
He
in
can barely
multi- in,
speak at this
in
point. It's-
MOM, he could barely move anything. That's why he was in the chair. It's not because of the characters. For him.
I think he also gave an interview saying that he and Ian McKellen both were not yet necessarily done with their characters, so they could both be coming back. This is the thing with the multiverse. There's all these opportunities to bring back people who really should not be brought back. So that's two. I'm sure we'll see them again. Then, yeah, as you say, there's all the X-Men, the Fantastic Four when they come in. So there'll be a new roster of male-led heroes. I think it'll be much more sort of at least evenly balanced, if not more than that.
Speaking of Fantastic Four, I saw like earlier this week that was it John Krasinski was Mr. Fantastic in one of the movies, right? Which movie was
Yeah, he
that?
was in MOM.
Multiverse. Oh, God,
Okay.
memories.
Why do
Smartest man alive.
people hate that version of Mr. Fantastic so much?
Because he's billed as the smartest man alive, and his one thing when he approaches Wanda and tells Wanda basically exactly everything she needs to know to beat them, and then just does his weird cheese string extension thing and gets turned into a cheese string and his head explodes. Like, smartest man alive is probably the most stupid character in a whole roster of stupid characters in that film.
And he's like
Gotcha.
Illuminati, right? So he's supposed to be like the smartest read
The
of the
Illuminati?
smartest, most hardcore universe.
Yeah, the hatred isn't for John Krasinski, I don't think, in the role. If there is any, it's to do with that him being so badly wasted on an awfully written version of that character. I think he could be quite a good.
I would actually want him in it just to see what he can do with the character, other than just be a giant idiot as the character's written. And also, Vanessa Kirby is apparently Mrs. Fantastic or Invisible Woman or whatever, which I'm not against.
I'll take that.
That's a W in my opinion.
She looks comic book accurate, at least. They didn't try to wash her,
Bro.
so
Amen.
Cynic.
Nerdy Film Girl for $4.99 wanted to bring the tagline of Expendables 4 to your attention. They'll die when they're dead. What the fuck does that even mean?
I think that's sold me on that movie
the
now.
real tagline?
It seems
They'll
like the
die when
tagline
they're
of
dead.
all of Hollywood right now. It's like, yeah, the fucking characters, they'll die when the actors die. All right. We'll push Harrison Ford out into any fucking franchise we want until that guy dies.
It fucking is. They'll die when they're dead. Oh my god. That's hilarious.
They will be the thing when they are the thing.
Is anyone gonna go see Equalizer 3? I'm like actually kind of stoked for that shit.
I haven't
seen the first two.
Were they any good?
Yo, the first two are good. They're pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like John Wick-ish, but
I just
Denzel
haven't seen the
Washington.
first two. That's the only reason I have no hype for this.
You just
third
turned
one.
Platoon off to it.
It's more dumb than John Wick. I feel like you'd like it, Platoon.
It's more dumb than John Wick. That's why I'd like it.
But it knows it's dumb. You know, it's not like world building to
it's
make
like
up for its
Spy
dumbness.
Kids.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, Denzel Washington beats the shit out of some dudes. I think he kills a dude with like a nail gun and stuff. You know, it's like that kind of fun.
Ooh.
I think I
Yeah.
saw an advert for that before Blue Beetle, but it didn't really titillate me at all. But maybe one day I'll see it. I didn't even know that was a actual franchise, so the odds of me catching the third one even are pretty slim. Over to you, Cynic.
Play the high note for an Australian $5.
No,
Best-
$5 damn it.
$5 The best
Amen,
summer
bro.
movie is Neil Breen's Cade: The Tortured Crossing. No joke, it was one of the funnest theater experiences I've had in my life. So you must be American, because you don't have fun in fucking theaters anywhere else but our country.
True. Theaters are not
There
fun.
is fun in silence. Silence can be fun.
All right, Mr. George Orwell.
You can have as much fun as you want. Just be fucking quiet about it.
You can have as much fun
as you want. Just be quiet.
No one wants to share in your fun. It's a
Well,
uniquely personal experience.
Do you not show your face because you're actually Orwell? Has that been the gag the whole time?
Well,
We're just streaming with Orwell right now.
yeah, you all thought I died of tuberculosis in the 1942, but no.
Pootie Evans for $4.99. They should have gone to the memory store to show how much Henny's family means to him.
Jaime?
Jaime?
Oh my god! Oh, that is brutal, bro.
What is the memory? What do you mean memory store?
Oh
Have
my
you
god!
have you seen
From-
Multiverse
You
of
really
Madness?
haven't seen Multiverse of Madness.
I
There's a
really
multi-
haven't.
Okay, so I'm gonna set the scene for you. All right. So you have
Okay.
you have Doctor Strange, and then you have
Mhm.
America Chavez.
Chavez.
They're walking down a street, and we're at this moment in the movie where it's all chill a bit, and we need to do some character building. These two characters need to talk to each other, and we need to get America Chavez to understand Doctor Strange and his past. So the genius of Michael Waldron, or who's his name? Michael? Is it Michael Waldron? I
Writer.
forgot his name. Mr. Bad Writer, except he is genius. He came up with the idea of the memory store. So Doctor Strange steps on this pad in the middle of the street, and it starts scanning him without consent, and just shows his memories on this storefront. And it
The
shows
most plot relevant memories.
Yeah, yes. And it shows him getting a watch from his love interest. And then America Chavez steps on it, and we see her parents get sucked into a portal because she got stung by a bee.
Not the bees, the bees. No.
What?
Yeah, that
This
actually
is-
happens.
I'm not lying. This is just true.
So I should watch Multiverse of Madness then for just how bad it is at this
Bro.
point.
I unironically kind of enjoyed Multiverse of Madness because of how bad it was. It's like, because I also have that, like, I don't find reviewing bad things necessarily a chore. There are a few that are a chore, like Avatar, but there are some which are just fun to shit on. Multiverse
Yes,
of Madness is
that was one of
definitely on
them,
that
yes.
list for that reason. It's like, we need
That
to
and
do
The
plot
Flash.
relevant character building. So step on the plate in front of the memory store so the plot can just dump exposition on you. And oh my goodness, my lesbian mums have disappeared because of a bee. And it's like, well, someone was paid to write this, and it's astounding, and it made it into the cut. It was, oh yeah, special film.
All right.
So you should
Mhm.
watch it. It's really great fun.
Sam Raimi movie, by the way.
Is it actually?
Yeah, Sam Raimi directed it.
Didn't he
Oh,
also say that it was
no.
really difficult to direct when he didn't know what the end of the film was supposed to be because the script wasn't finished yet?
Bro,
Yep.
is there a documentary on the production of that movie? That someone needs to make that.
There'll
'Cause
be
I-
the director's commentary on it by now, won't there? Because I know Mauler made a lot of use of that in his Ant-Man video, like the director and the writer sort of talking about the film, which made it
The
worse.
commentary? Wait,
was- yeah,
they
they
made a
used the audio
commentary for
commentary.
that movie.
They did the
No.
audio commentary, and if you listen to that and juxtapose it with the scenes, the film is even worse than you'd think. That's a good
No.
video.
They made a
I'm sure there'll be one of those for
commentary.
Multiverse, obviously.
Okay.
Best movie of 2022.
Pooty Evans for $1.99. Cynic is channeling that inner React streamer. Now I'd have to be off the screen to fully get that roll down. Taker 610 for $2. Can we just call him Grand Admiral Elon?
Yes, he just looks like Elon Musk, but
Could be doing
blue
that.
with red eyes.
That's too funny, man.
I haven't decided yet if I'm doing this sort of episode by episode like I reviewed Obi-Wan. I might be doing that if I've got the time, in which case that's a name in contention. We'll have to see how his character actually pans out.
Mm.
Jonathan Frost for $10. I'm DMing Cynic my address and $50 for no reason. Look for it. Okay.
He'll just spend it on himself. He'll just buy more for himself. You won't get any of that stuff that you're definitely not trying to purchase via a live stream.
And it won't be just because I'm a dick. It'll be because I just forgot to mail it to you. Taker 610 for another $2. Andrew kind of looks like iDubbbz, yeah?
I see it.
I do not know who that is. I've heard the
I
name.
know the name, yeah.
Hi, Andrew.
No more camera.
Oh God, he kind of does, doesn't he? Yeah.
iDubbbz looks like a greasy bitch. Andrew's like if iDubbbz had a soul and a like a mother, you know?
It's just in
And
the
her
head
mother.
shape. That's where the similarity is. That you guys
If
have
I
the
take my
same
glasses
head-
off, does it fix that?
No, it makes it
No.
worse. And put them back on.
Put on the sweater. I think the Bill Cosby sweater is what really
All
sets
right.
it apart.
Hey.
I can kind of see that. It's the glasses and the moustache and also kind of the hair. And the
Don't make
facial
me go
shape.
shave this right now. Do not.
Can we get a live stream of Andrew shaving the mustache?
We should do a crowdfunder, like raise some money for charity.
Yeah.
Donate
Someone
the
can
stash.
make a nice stash wig out of whatever's left. You know?
Get that stage out of you.
It's like they occasionally get those heartwarming social media things. That young girl grows 5 feet of hair to give it to wigs for cancer patients, but Andrew with moustaches for people who can't grow them.
For alopecia sufferers, we'll say.
The Cord King for $2. Time for Weed Reads with Cynic. Hooray.
Speaking of moustaches,
The Big Ship for an ass $5. Andrew's mustache makes him look like he shares Optimus Prime's catchphrase. Call me.
Which one?
I am stealing the children.
Give me your face.
Give me your face.
You brought a human here?
Nemi for $10. Blue Beetle isn't even the first Hispanic superhero in cinema. Miles Morales is Hispanic. It's almost as if this representation matters talk is only skin deep.
So is Namor or Namor or Namore or whatever his name is.
America Chavez.
And America
Miles
Chavez.
Morales is a good character.
And so is Miguel from Spider-Man.
Wasn't Namor race swapped
True.
anyways for Aquaman? Or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, because
He's white
Namor
originally.
is a white
Lamer.
character. Yeah. Yep.
And finally,
What is this? Satir? I can't say your name.
Ceteris Parabolus.
Okay, for $4.99.
I've seen this person before.
Platoon struggling to father his stoner foster son is the unexpected twist this podcast needed. It's funny because I'm older than him too. It makes for a crazy story.
it is.
Platoon, how old are you?
All the internet knows is that I was born in the 90s, and that's all the internet will ever know.
Well, hold on. He did say earlier that he was a young lad when Finding Nemo came out in 2003.
I think I know your age.
Well, that's
If
the
I
end of the
guess
stream,
it-
folks. So we can move straight on.
Platoon is going to completely wipe off the face of the internet.
And Bagface was never seen again.
Can I guess it?
But no, you can't. It does.
26.
It does. I'll take that. That's fine. It does. Unironically, that is actually the last of the super chats. So it is the end of the stream. But we do have the wrap up plug. What are you doing thing section that everybody loves. We will go clockwise as usual. So Andrew, what's coming up for you?
Well, I have Slight Tomfoolery every Sunday nights, and then that's been touted by the chat as Mr. Brown's after party. So and then I have Blue Beetle, which just got copy striked for the 3rd time, so that's fun. So I'm that means that my Ahsoka video is going to be delayed till like Wednesday, which means I'll just put my summary of the issues going into the show into the beginning of the review.
You're not a nerd, just to clarify that.
I am not a nerd, bro.
No.
I am cool. Anyway, so yeah, Blue Beetle, and then I have Ahsoka thoughts. And then yeah, that's it for me.
Good stuff. Bagface.
Hey, well, if any of the people on this panel send me things eventually one day, I will be putting out videos for some other people this week. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This week, guys, it's coming. And then I'm working on a video right now for my channel about, long story short, I found these kids on YouTube, and they're called Vlad and Nikki, and they're 7 and 9, and they run their own YouTube channel, or like they're the stars of it. And their net worth is $280 million. So I'm going to.
I wish my parents sold me to the internet. My parents are so lame.
For real. So I'm working on a video about that right now because I don't think that's good. So yeah,
What do you mean? They got so much money. What could possibly happen?
Yeah, nothing goes wrong when a 7-year-old's worth, $500 million, $250 million. It's fine.
There could absolutely be no long-term effects of this.
Nope.
That's ridiculous. Though,
Yep.
you should be at least 30 before you make your first million. That's wrong.
Yeah. And the whole like I'm trying to figure out if the parents are skimming off the top because I'm assuming it's impossible if they're not. But
I would have thought the parents are getting all of it. The kids are too young to have that money. It's all going to go into like a trust, and they'll have whatever the parents haven't spent by the time they reach the age of 21.
Yeah, we'll pay for your college.
That's how it is with like Ryan's Toys reviews. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I think he's the biggest toy review channel.
He's one of like the top 5 largest channels on YouTube. Yeah.
So much money, and I'm pretty sure the parents just have all of it. He's so famous they make video games of him. Or it's just like app store games. So
it'd be fascinating to see the metrics for how many people really watch the stuff and how many kids have just left like the playlist on and left the iPad. Because like so much kids entertainment it's just scrolling and the kids just leave the iPad and it plays. So advertisers are paying huge amounts of money for content that actually is not getting as many actual views as the view count would suggest because kids have no attention span.
They do like full 8-minute commercials. Their kids do too of like toys. And I was like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
These videos are completely 100% sponsored and it's not made clear and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I love this weird off-brand Lego set that was mailed to me mysteriously.
Well, and it's like I was watching one for doing research purposes, and it's like, oh, I had to get the expansion pack and the starter pack, and I got this extra dude, and then I got this guy on the side who goes into this thing, and you got to buy the whole arena. It's like, oh my God, it's like if I was a kid, this is like crack. This is like kid crack. Yeah,
that's what the internet is.
Yeah,
it is crazy.
But that's what I'm up to. It's a weird, dark time in my life right now.
It sounds fun. Vex, what can we expect from you?
I'm sorry, it's a dark time in your life. My goodness. I don't know. I put out my Blue Beetle review yesterday. I don't know what to put out on that channel, but come September, like you can expect gaming content from me again. So sub to the second channel or first channel, the gaming channel. There we go. But I'll be on Cannoli Sasquatch's channel right after this. We're reviewing Batman and Robin. That's gonna be a fun time. I'm defending that film actually.
Is there no Baldur's Gate review coming?
I don't have time to actually play it right now. Like come September, I'm switching to part-time, so I'll actually have time to make gaming content, but I'd like Starfield's really the big thing I'm hoping to put to reboot that channel in all honesty.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that multiplayer? Because we want to do gaming on BSUP at some point, like BSUP gaming of co-op Starfield, if that's a thing.
At this point, it's only single player.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh well, scratch that good idea.
But I mean, anything else, hit me up.
We will do so. Cynic.
I have to release a Blue Beetle review before Friday, so that'll definitely happen. And I'm trying to think of what movie I want to review first for a BSUP live breakdown, but I don't know. I want to do horror movies over the next 2 months. We'll have to discuss it.
Well, October's coming up. That would be a good time to do some. Like, you just go through Halloween, all of them, including the bad ones. No, because there's fucking hundreds of them. Just
yeah,
the bad
I'd say
ones.
there's 13 of them.
13?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We'd have to start now. And do it every week.
Do one every day.
Pick up with Halloween Ends. Is it Halloween Ends the terrible one?
Halloween Ends is a video. It's a movie that's going to get its own video for me because I hate it that much.
Evil will die. Is that what they say?
No, that's
Evil
Dies
Dies
the one
Tonight,
before.
And
Evil
now
Dies
that's
Tonight.
Halloween Kills, which is
that
actually
one was
Evil Dies Tonight.
Oh, dude.
that one wasn't great, but it's a guilty pleasure.
I thought the 2018 one was fine.
Yeah, it was. That was a nice little start, and then
Was
Halloween
that the rebooted
Kills
one?
Oh, Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. But the conclusion was the worst Halloween movie that they ever made.
Really?
Yep. Don't worry. There will be a long video for you to edit. You'll get very acclimated to all the issues with Halloween.
Sweet.
So,
Right,
yeah.
And then rounding off, I am swamped with stuff. So I want to try and get a Blue Beetle script. But given I'm swamped with stuff, I might ask Bagface to do the video for that one. So that will be fun. I am still working on Mando Part 2, but Ahsoka comes out tomorrow. So I'll be being spit roasted by aliens for the next foreseeable weeks. One of the, like, I don't know which one will be first. Either Mando will come out before the first Ahsoka video or vice versa, one of the two. But there will be plenty of stuff coming out on the old channel. So yeah, keep in touch. And I believe that brings us to the close of the stream. So thank you to our lovely guests for lovelily joining us as usual. Thank you to the chat for being the chat. You are fantastic people. And we will see you same time next week on Cynic's channel. Oh, no, wait, it's not the end because we've moved, haven't we? We actually have an upload channel now, which I don't think we've... Yeah, anyone who is wondering should probably have mentioned that. These videos, instead of now going to our respective second channels, go to a dedicated BSUP channel. So just Google, like YouTube, even BSUP. It's there somewhere. And
if you're watching this, the link's in the description.
How long has the link been in the description for?
The
Is it by
entire
any
time.
chance 2 seconds? Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good. We're not entirely unprofessional. So yeah, that's the channel to sub to for the re-uploads, but obviously we'll host playlists on the main channels. So it'll still be available in the usual place. But yeah, that is the end of the stream. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Timing.